We are brought to you by Boss Bears Supplements. That's Boss Bears Supplements at bossbears.co. Hard work, consistency, and determination are difficult to sustain when your mind and body can't keep up. Fuel your body with what it needs to perform like a boss. Whether you're closing deals, pitching a new business idea, or training in the gym, Boss Bears take your hustle to the next level. Our ingredients are the highest quality with potency and serving sizes that are the gold standard in the industry. Check out all of Boss Bears products at bossbears.co. They have apple cider vinegar gummies. They have ashwagandha. They have all kinds of supplements in delicious gummy form. They also have them in pill form if you don't want the gummies. I prefer the gummies. They are delicious, and I've tried the apple cider vinegar. They are very good. Use code Nicky at checkout to save 10%. That's bossbears.co, code Nicky. We are brought to you by Clout Power Supplements. That's KLOUTPWR.com. So here I have the protein, the Cravings protein from Clout. This one is the salted caramel. This is some of the best protein that I've ever had in my life. It's actually delicious. I like the salted caramel and the cinnamon swirl are my two favorites. Also, their pre-workouts are amazing. So they have the Karma Nootropic pre-workout. It's a nootropic and focused pre-workout. It's a lower stimulant formula, zero itch formula. It has 4 trademark ingredients, and has fully dosed ingredients. So far, the Arctic Cherry is probably my favorite of the Karma pre-workout. Also, try the Nero Aminos from them. And also the High Stimulant Mamba is some of my favorite too. And I really like the Arctic Cherry of that one. So go to cloutpower.com and use code Nicky to save 15%. KLOUTPWR.com. Code Nicky to save 15%. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast, episode 41. And we 41. We are here with podcast favorite Zachary Nathaniel Hall, powerlifter, powerlifting coach, and also student and studying physics
and math,
astrophysics.
Yes. We're episode 41, which is cool. That was episode 14 last time, so I think that's
a
sign.
That's a sign from the universe.
To be, and that's also 14 is my birthday, my anniversary.
Okay, now I believe in God. So you just changed everything.
If that's all it took to convince you, then you are.
No, that's some of the stuff I wanted to talk about with you. It's
yeah, we've been talking, and we've been having a hard time keeping our conversations off the camera so we can save it for here.
Right. Yeah, there's so much exciting stuff to talk about that.
I had to keep saying, hold on.
Right. So, no, it was just you had been talking on an Instagram live or just an Instagram story about some of the new science, and one of my friends had just sent me this link to this YouTube video, where science is kind of finding out, like, I don't know, to me it's like it's the idea that like space and time is only kind of real to us, and like I don't know, like it opens up a lot of possibilities of like stuff that seems like, I feel like there's this weird thing where like educated people are, anti-religion or anti, like, even like I've had a lot of ghost people on here, spirits, and like the more you get into some of this different like new science, like the more the possibilities of those things seeming a lot more plausible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The more we learn about the science and the quantum realm and stuff, it's like the stuff we came up with supernatural, like myths, actually sounds more logical than the stuff we find is real. Like
it does now.
Ghosts and man bear pigs sound more likely than like some of the stuff they're proving.
Right. Because it's like if we actually like only live in this, perceived reality that humans perceive, and there's multiple dimensions beyond that. Yeah. Now you got like spirits, ghosts, even the idea of a creator becomes like, well, maybe there's someone that did create it.
Yeah, there's even more to it than that with other dimensions. You bring in the idea of if linear time is not a function of all life and it's just human perception, then everything happens all at once, all the time. Now it's just where you're experiencing, but you've already died, you've already lived your life.
Yeah.
You're just here now. So, and then add on 5 other possible dimensions there could be past space and time, right. And then you're just like, anything
So
could be possible. There's like life could be out there that you can't even recognize. You wouldn't even see it as.
we wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
Yeah.
Because we're like in the experience, right? Yeah, like the idea that's like time doesn't really exist except to
Time-
us.
And time is also relative. Einstein's theory of relativity, like this is a proven fact that everybody doesn't perceive time the same way depending on your location and your speed.
Right.
So me and you right now are experiencing different time because of our proximity to Earth, to mass, gravity, stuff like that. So obviously it's a negligible difference, but someone running is experiencing time at a different speed than you are. So
Right.
that alone shows you that there's so much out there that we can't even, can't even perceive because of that,
Yeah, it's like remember that? What was that? Interstellar. Remember that movie?
They were pretty good with the science. It was one of the
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like the one planet was like, I remember it was like what, like 6 years on that planet was, or like 1 hour on that planet was like 6 years on Earth.
Yeah, and that's a real thing. We can go play. We can't get there because we don't have the science to travel far enough. But there's places where time would travel different. Time would go by differently at a different rate. So
I remember a lot of memes about like people waiting for the new Tool album. Like based on that movie, you know what I mean? Like waiting for the new Tool album. It's because it's like it just takes forever.
yeah, I think what Interstellar was going in the very end, where the guy sees like his daughter and all the different,
All the
all the
books.
different bookcases and stuff. It's their artistic depiction of like what a fifth or sixth dimension would be, where if time was not real and everything happened at once, there would be some way where we would be able to step back and see all things at once. And so that's what I thought was really cool about the movies, because I'm like, that's actually kind of what it would be like in a way.
Well,
when
the
you're
idea
looking at
that
this-
he transcended time and space
Yeah,
and was
and-
able to like contact her or whatever.
Yeah, at any point, any time, at any age she could. And that's what I think is the future of like space travel, is that kind of dimensional access.
So
because-
instead of like the idea that there's some kind of like fuel and time and all this like
Yeah.
to get to a place, we just kind of figure out how to bypass time and space.
well, at the speed of light, we physically cannot travel past a certain speed, which is I think 577 million miles an hour is the speed of light.
Right.
And that's because light particles don't have mass. So there's literally nothing can go faster than that. So we can't get anywhere that's past that a human can't live long enough to go that far. So
Right.
we can't get anywhere by physically getting there. So you have to come up with shortcuts, and that's where like warp drives are, where they say if we can just skip from point A to point B by going through fabric time instead of going from point A to point B on. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I do know what you mean. Like
There's a big visual of the fabric being bent in. You make a wormhole.
yeah, like you're talking about like that grid kind of.
Yeah, you've seen it all.
where it shows if you kind of curve the grid and then you make a point.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is we physically can't travel that far. The next closest galaxy to us, it would take multiple generations to get there. It's not possible to get.
Think
there
how
fast.
cool that
So
would be if we ever figured that out.
That's kind of where like I wish I could be part of that. And I might Occupy Mars shirt.
I know.
To try to endorse if the one person's watching that might be in this kind of thing.
That is
to
dope.
try
So
to get
you
us out
are
there.
in school right now.
Yes.
And what are you studying exactly?
I am in a science and physics focused undergraduate program. I'm about halfway done now, so I'm not technically like a physics major.
But
I'm in those direct programs to transfer to UW.
It's cool though, man. That's like it's a really cool
you.
pursuit. And
Thank you. And I don't know what I'm going to minor in, but I'm thinking either math or astronomy. I'm not sure.
right.
But you pretty much take all the maths to do physics. So
Math is pretty awesome.
math is the language of the world. That's the language that the world is soul
I
to
mean,
speaks in.
I feel like we're built on math. Like it's just in
We
everything.
are.
Yeah.
I was something I wanted to post like a talk about on Instagram is how much math that we do with just like looking. If I were to toss you something, you're doing in your head on the fly calculus.
Right.
Because calculus is talking about finding the derivative, which is like the peak acceleration at a point. So like the point they're maximizing problems. So like what's the fastest speed you can get to? You do that when someone passes you something.
Isn't
We're
that
passively doing
weird? So then it's like
calculus.
our
So cool.
nervous system just gets so used to these calculations.
Yeah,
like-
I mean, we simplify it more
like-
as like we learn by like association and stuff like that. You're not like breaking down numbers, but you do that intuitively.
Because that's called like proprioceptive or whatever.
Proprioception.
Yeah, like if I want to touch my nose, it's like boom, I know where my nose is for some reason.
Yeah.
Like if you close it, you're not like, oh, where is it? I don't know. You just know it's right there. Like,
Yeah, it's a very valuable skill to have. It's great
man.
for lifting.
yeah, I think about that in lifting. Like it's basically moving your body in space and time with like,
Yeah.
and basically making tons of minute little calculations. I mean, that's what you're doing powerlifting. That's why you guys powerlifting are able to, get better at these movements. It's like tiny little calculations, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of physics to it. Just focusing on leverages of how to move a weight. It's different in that regard to bodybuilding. We're more focused on like the main lifts. Is I'm just trying to lift as much weight as I can. So those fine tuning of those details really matters because physics. These numbers are true. There is positions that are just easier to lift weight. Like it's not a conversation.
Right.
If your hips are closer to a barbell, you're more likely you're in a more advantageous position. Not necessarily you'll be stronger because it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But there's no lying that if your feet are wider on a squat, that your center of gravity is closer and the weight is easier to lift. Like this is I can show this to you on paper.
Right.
There isn't an argument about it. But then it gets into the fact of what can the lifter do? What are they? Then that's where the coaching comes in. But it's very important in powerlifting, to find that details and that fine tuning, because if I make 3 tweaks on your squat that each make you lift 1% more and you lift 500 pounds, that's 3%. 3% of 500 is 15 pounds. I don't know.
That's a good. That's a good gain.
It's a good. That's you winning a meet and you losing a meet. That's you being a champion and you being fifth. So it definitely makes a big fucking difference. But that is squeezing out like the bottom of the towel in metaphor.
Right.
Like that's fine tuning. It's not really necessary for most people to be that.
But if you're doing like a meet and you want to like get a little better, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I would save those tweaks for off season. The day of the shitty meet, you don't make people do things differently. It's
right.
I always say, I'm like, today is the meet day. Just get the fucking weight up. I don't.
Yeah, right. We're not going to change your. Yeah, this is not the day we're going to tweak your form.
It's a mistake a lot of people make, or they eat differently. Like, if you've been eating bad and just eat bad, you're better off this way because your body's trained eating bad. You associated that with bad food. All your good performances were associated with bad food. You need to keep doing it.
Right, because you need to make changes and let them happen. Right, you can't just like do them like the day of. It's like
it's too late, and you have no clue how you're going to react to anything. It's just. I'd rather you become to know what's going to happen and have it maybe be bad, like you ate shit food, than to take a gamble. It's better to just be safe.
You can't make up for something you've been doing wrong at like the last second.
And it's way too late.
You know what I mean? It's like
3 months too late.
You should do that next time. Work on that for like the next time.
Yeah, that's the preparation.
But it's like, that's kind of like I was telling you. I want to get better at both my deadlift and my squat. And you've given me some tips on it, and I got some tips on deadlift. But I'm like, I'm close to the show where I'm just like, I don't feel like tweaking this at this point. And then next time when I bulk, I really want to work on it. Because I'll be in a calorie surplus. I can get stronger. But right now, I'm kind of just like, I'm just going to keep grinding it out the way I have.
Let me throw you a curveball to that. Is what if now that's the time to work on those things? Just lower the weight, focus on the technique since you're not strong because you're in a deficit, you're tired.
Right.
Just lower it, get the practice in, get the reps in. Perfect reps, get high accuracy.
That would
take
actually
money
make sense.
And leave the bank. Why kill yourself on a movement that you don't want to do?
Plus, I'm doing a bodybuilding show. It's not like I'm doing a powerlifting show.
Yeah, you don't need that.
It's not about the weight.
Yeah, it's probably more taxing on your energy at this point anyways.
I know it, like, especially, I mean, right now I'm not in a bad deficit.
Yeah.
But that's, like, going to happen soon. It's definitely, and you're right, then it's more about the form, and, like, it becomes more about trying to look good than... Yeah. So I actually that's some good advice, dude.
Some light sets of 12, take the belt off, do it raw, so you can have to lift as light as you can, and just nice and controlled.
Now you said this, you might do a bodybuilding show.
I will. It's not a might.
Not a might. It's happening.
I flirted with the idea for a while. I just would like to do something better in my sport first. Like, I don't want to start.
I know, but I'm kind of excited for that, dude.
I'm very excited. I've been posing every single day all year. Got a bunch of photos, that I compare every day, to one another. And I usually pose for about 30 minutes, and then I'll review them for 30 minutes, screenshot where I look the best, and then I'll compare. But
that's a lot of work, dude.
It is. Yeah. It is. I got really motivated because I listened to some videos from some speakers and some, like, primarily the Shaolin monks. And there's one monastery in Germany where they say they practice for 3 hours a day, 3 separate time slots. And they can practice anything they want. They can study, they can dance, they can whatever, but you have to, like, really focus. And I thought, like, I spend an hour a day fucking surfing Instagram. Right. I could be doing, and I could, and then I thought, like, if I took an hour every day to learn any skill, like archery or whatever, I think that I could be pretty fucking good. And I'm like, I'm wasting that time doing nothing.
I know.
I told myself for three slots a day, I'm going to do practice for at least 15 minutes I commit to. So,
I love that, dude.
I have a list of like 12 different things that I can choose from. And posing, I pretty much pose.
But so it's not just about the posing, it's just the idea of going into a hard practice every day.
And it's discipline.
Something other than just like mindless scrolling or...
It's discipline. It's all the same thing, whether you lift weights or diet, whatever. It's discipline at its core, from a psychological, just minimal standpoint, is making yourself do things that you don't want to do. So anything is discipline. If I resist myself drinking and I let myself dehydrate, I'm practicing discipline. That gets me more consistent in the gym. It's a skill,
Right.
You know. So, but it is also about the posing, because I like bodybuilding. I would love to do a show, for them, the monks, it is about practicing that discipline. It's about staying consistent with.
It's cool because we have all, like you're talking about archery, like I have all these friends that have, like, you know, we have these opportunities to do things. Like I have a buddy that shoots guns all the time. Like if I wanted to get into like shooting guns and figure out how to do it, like I know he's a resource, and he's like, come on, shoot with me anytime. But like, why don't we do more shit like that? Like that's so much more interesting.
Do you think it would be cool to just be a phenomenal quick shot and shooting, you know?
I mean, it'd be dope to do those courses and stuff. Like, not to get all like crazy about guns or anything, but like it's another skill, like you said. It's like,
and you have the resources too, and the only reason why you don't have it is because you just chose not to.
Right. Or like archery is so cool,
Something
dude.
we could be doing.
That's like even meditative in a sense.
I think it's all meditative in a way. You know, you're splitting hairs at that point, but when you really focus and override your brain's thought process, I consider that a form of meditation. Meditation isn't just sitting there and going, you know. It's a little bit more. It's any point where your mind is cleared.
Right, because if you're focused on like holding that bow and you pull it back, and then you have to like find your, like, you know, your pin, and you get it like lined up in the thing, and you probably have to have like some kind of. A lot of guys have like an anchor point on their chin where they pull back to. Depends if you're using a, you know. So then you got to. All these steps you have to reset each time. So like you're going through this process each time, and there's no way to think about anything else.
Yeah, you can't.
So it's almost meditative in a sense.
It is meditative. What I think about it is, you know, when your brain how am I going to phrase this? When you're working on a skill and you get anxious and you think about it, your brain doesn't just do things automatically. Then you second guess it, you think about it. And that's why in these moments when they're working on these things, you can't think about anything else, because as soon as you try to think about it, it slows the process down. Your body's better at doing these things when you practice it and just let it do it, because it doesn't have to ask you for permission anymore. It doesn't have to check. It just kind of does it. And that's, you know, kind of what meditation is. It's separating your soul from like the autonomy of your body. So it's why a lot of people meditate by walking or running, because that bipedal motion helps your brain go while your body's busy.
Right.
Or and some speaker said similar, where he said doing dishes, and I'm just like, I have some of my greatest ideas doing dishes, because your body's busy with something so simple.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of brain power for you to use your hands, because there's so many digits. So while
doing dishes is meditative, dude.
It is.
I used to live with my buddies in this house. It was like there was 3 of us, and then one guy's girlfriend moved into, so there ended up being 4 of us in this house. And it's one of those things where like I ended up not getting mad at other people for being messy. I just became like the guy that cleaned up.
That's me.
You know what I'm saying? And dude, like, no lie, one time, like, you know what like dabs are? Clearly, I'm asking the wrong guy. Like,
I'm technically dabbing right now.
Yeah. So like, it's what, some kind of oil, like.
Yeah, it's just concentrate from THC that they heat press it really hard, and then it turns into, you know, it's the goo.
And it's like strong shit.
It's very potent.
Yeah. So. Well, anyway, I used to really like, I had this like old stereo in there that had a CD player, and I had set that up on top of the fridge. And the place was kind of an open concept place, so it was nice. You could have a load of laundry in, and I'd be cleaning up all the dishes, and I'd be cleaning up after my buddies even. I'm like, I didn't really care as long as the place. I wanted my space to be clean, and I didn't really care. I know that's kind of weird. Like I should have made. Yeah, but anyway, so I love doing the dishes because I would put on like music, good music, like CDs, and I would just rock out, and I'd be cleaning up, and I loved it. But like one day, there was like a bowl sitting on the just the kitchen table or whatever, and had a towel draped over it. You know, I'm just cleaning up everything like I always did.
Oh boy!
I had no idea it was lined with just fucking oil and dabs, I guess. And so like I just grab the bowl and I fucking take the towel off, throw it in the sink with soap and water, wash it, and like my buddy was like, "Bro, what happened to that bowl?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like I was cleaning up like I always do. And I mean, he never got mad at me because he knew, like, okay, this dude's like cleaning up.
Was the stuff like still in it, or was it dirty? Like, did he have?
No, I mean, I think it was like basically like all over lined on the bowl, and he would scrape it off. Like so it was full of it. It was like a full.
That stuff's messy, and it makes your stink smell bad.
Right, I had no idea what it was. I just thought it was a greasy bowl. You know, I'm like, okay, I'll just clean this.
Damn.
So, I mean, he was pretty pissed because he probably, I don't know how much money that was. Probably lost him.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, I probably lost him some money there, but.
Yeah.
Oops, my bad. I wasn't.
But yeah, dishes. It's
Dishes are
meditative.
great. Yeah.
Meditative, very good discipline building skill. Yeah, that's a meditation.
Laundry,
analogy.
putting laundry away, cleaning your room, all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It helps to do anything bipedal is what I've been learned from in therapy. They say is it helps break up that body stress response from your conscious thoughts. Your
So would you say like if you are in a bad spot, and I know it's really harder when you're in a bad spot, but because you just want to sink into the couch and be like, but like getting up actually helps, like moving.
Yeah, getting up and behavioral therapy, one technique that my doctor actually taught me is like if you're in a situation like that, just pat your hands back and forth, and it helps kind of get that broken up because your brain's busy, and that kind of helps you get going if you're stressed out, you're overwhelmed. But even getting up and just doing anything when you feel down, even if it's just standing up and doing anything, is a good way to get going. Of course,
I remember I used to watch this YouTuber, Elliot Hulse was his name. Now I think he's into some different stuff now, but he used to be a pretty cool fitness channel. But he used to say that like he'd be like, depression is like a closed, like you're sinking into yourself like this, and he's like, one of the best things you can do is like the body takes cues, your brain so he'd be like, you need to get up.
Why do you think I'm sitting like this?
And you need to stretch as wide as you can, and you need to breathe and open yourself. So he'd like open himself up, because it's like the opposite of depression, and it's weird how it actually does make you feel different.
There was some study I actually listened to on a podcast the other day where they did a study with standing in like a Superman pose.
Yeah.
And it has been clinically proven to increase temporarily testosterone.
Oh,
by,
yeah.
a significant level by just standing in a powerful, prideful pose for like a little while, and like usually looking in a mirror because seeing it helps. But being open and standing wide,
just your posture and all that.
Your brain takes the signals. It takes signals from how you stand and how you talk.
Right. It is wild, right? I mean, you can kind of program yourself to be who you want to be.
In computers, you have the command prompt where you can execute, master commands. Like your thoughts are the command prompt to the computer.
Right.
Like
we're just running code.
It's all code. And all your behaviors, like how you react to things, is just learned code.
Right.
You just start off with blank code, and then you're conditioned to just pick things up. And that's pretty much 90% of how we live. People think that you're mostly making decisions, but most of the things you do are automated. So many passive things, like how you walk down the street and which roads you take and how you turn. And like even in conversations, there's so many quick things that you'll say just because
you're just in it. You're not thinking really. You're just kind of going with the flow.
People think we're in a lot more control than we really are.
Well, that's why you got guys like Sam Harris. I don't know if you listen to him. He's what is he? He's like, I forget what he is. He's a freaking
human.
Yeah, I mean he's a podcaster, but I forget what his education is in. But he's is he like? It doesn't matter. I'd have to look it up. But he's a pretty intelligent dude. But he's one of those guys that he's like he's not really sure anymore how much free will we actually have.
Yeah, that's a tough debate, man.
That's a huge debate, free will or not. Like, because it feels like we do, but it's like also where did that come from? Like everything I do, what if I'm just always been destined to do it? I think I'm making the decisions, but what if every time Nick Friedhoff is born, he becomes a pro wrestler?
That's one crazy way to think of this is we talked about time. If time isn't real, linear time, whatever, and it's everything happened all at once, then destiny and what you're fated to do isn't because you're going to do it. It's because it's already happened. You just haven't experienced it yet. So
you haven't been on it. Yeah, that's so weird.
You already are.
Yeah.
Like if I want to, you already are whatever you chose to be, assuming you follow through with it.
Right.
But yeah, it's just an interesting perspective. But free will. It's there's another study that I'd seen where people they put some probes in their brains and they had them press a button, and they just detected in their brain when the signal would go off when they decided to move, like when that starts to go off and when they did it, and they would see what was it that before they moved their hand and recognized that they were going to do it, there was already brain chemistry going on. So before the person recognized that they were going to do it, the brain had already started doing something. So that was one of the only science-based studies where I'd seen where they kind of showed that free will is not...
It's already happening before you even...
Because if that's the case, then you could be reacting out of conditioning, and then you just think that you chose to do that. And then everything you do is just... But that's where we have our own... I think there is free will because you and I can say right now, like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make a choice. we have choices. You know, we can break that past that. We all can.
Yeah, that's the thing where I'm kind of like, because I have seen people, you know, and maybe you could just say it's destined that they were always going to make that change, but I have seen people make conscious changes to be better people in their life, and I know that that's a real thing. And it takes a lot of work, and it takes, like, it's kind of like you said, it's reprogramming yourself in a sense.
It is.
You
It's
know?
reprogramming all those learned behaviors. Because if you're just, say you're an aggressive guy and you just want to be a little nicer, well, there's thousands of instances where you behaved aggressively, so that whenever a situation comes up that irritates you, your brain's going to say, well, 90% of the time I'm aggressive, so I'm just going to be aggressive.
Yeah.
So you need to have enough data points where you're not aggressive to outdo that. So, like,
Right.
that's why habits that have been built up for over 30 years take longer, because you have to uneven it so you're more likely to do what you've done before, because your brain's always going to do what you've done before.
Oh, I try to change
Every
those
single
things
time.
all the time.
It's
Like, but even like road rage stuff, dude.
you have to do it more times than you've road raged. You have to
Right.
be nicer more times, significantly more.
Like sometimes I'm on the road and I'll just be like, man, fuck all these people. I'm like, why are they? This is my fucking road. This is my life. They're in my fucking way. Like,
I'm a road rager.
But I'm not like serious. I know that I sound ridiculous when I'm saying it, but I'll say it to myself like, oh, these motherfuckers, like, don't they understand that my life's still fucking important? You know, I'm half joking to myself when I say it, but I'm still kind of thinking it, you know? But it's like, of course, like, they all have their own lives and stuff too. But it's like, motherfucker, I'm the main character in this story. Get out of my way.
Main character. It's such a human trait to think that we're all.
A lot of people are really, I think a lot of people are limited because of that in how they treat other people.
Yeah, I think most people and mostly are. And it's a human response. We're meant to be we're meant to preserve ourselves.
You're like, you guys are all NPCs. I'm the guy. You know, it's like.
And they think the same thing about
And they
you,
think the same thing,
It's all the same thing.
Right.
So how the fuck you been?
Oh, dude, I've been pretty good. I mean,
don't think I've seen you in since a month or so, at least. And
there's been a lot of change because I passed my NASM test, so I've got a couple clients now.
Congrats, bro. That's fucking awesome.
That felt good too.
Fuck yeah.
Trust me, dude. Yeah.
You have a couple clients?
I have a couple clients that I train just basic stuff. You know, they're on like an upper lower day. They just train like twice a week. You know, not trying to be body. Like I said, I'm leaving that to the pros. But I can get these regular people on a good plan, a healthier food, and it's kind of rewarding. Like I know you do. I was going to talk to you too about like what apps and stuff you use.
Well,
I got
to talk about that now, I guess. Yeah, please.
I mean, I guess we can do it on air, dude. Like, so I noticed a lot of people, because we live in this generation of phones. You know, I'm tracking everything, which is working. I just take a notebook and I track it. Like, okay, so last week we did this at this weight. So, like, how do you feel? You know, like, oh, we could go, you know, because these guys are like, you know, they're not trying to like do like what you're doing or what I'm doing. They just want to get in better shape, and they don't want to hurt themselves. They just want to get the movements down. And I've noticed too already, even with just 2 clients, like, you'll have some that kind of want to be pushed a little more, and others that just want to get the motion down. Because like the one I got, he's like, I can already tell he needs more weight because he's like, and he has good movement and everything. But they both kind of are interested in like having an app, you know. So I'm like,
I would recommend firmly. It's an app called Train Heroic. A previous coach of mine, Chris Bridgeford, I'll give him the cred. He introduced me to that app, and I fucking love it. I've gotten a few other coaches on it too.
And what can you put into it?
I'll show it to you really quick on my end.
I'm gonna make a note. Train Heroic.
I've used it as a coach and as an athlete, and I definitely prefer it over other.
Because I get it nowadays. Everything is on the phone.
Real quick
and
on here, you know, like this is kind of what the user would see as they open it up, and like that's all the movements, and it comes through, and you can open it up, and they fill it out here, and they can plug it in, they can add sets, and then there's notes.
Oh, that's dope.
There's videos, and then it logs all of their.
So that's like for your online guys too that you don't even see in person. They can write all those notes, so you know what's going on.
It's very helpful, and they can send videos to you through the.
So you send them their workout on there. They track their workout. They give you notes on the workout.
Yeah, and it gives you a little readiness checker, so they can like say like what their energy levels were, just for more information. Because if they have a bad session, I don't want to have to message them and ask these questions. So it kind of like pre-screens them, like how'd you sleep, how'd you eat, how do you feel, that kind of stuff, and times the sessions, because I look really closely at my client sessions time, especially if there's like a session that they need to be working harder on more, but they're doing it for a shorter amount of time. Then I know that they're either slacking off or I need to put some more work there.
Right.
So having that stuff is very helpful. So I would recommend that app. But before you sign up, let me send you a referral thing. I get
because you get some money.
there's
Okay,
a
yeah, we'll
referral
get you
program.
that. We'll get you that
Yeah.
referral, dude. I noticed that with everything. Like I use that like Chime credit builder card, and like Robinhood does that. You know, like all those things.
I have a
It's
few Robinhood referrals too. That's nice. They give you
I
like
know,
3
man. Like,
shares.
yeah, why not get?
But it's
them?
like a 20-cent share.
Yeah, it's nothing great, but it's still something.
But they say it could be up to a $300 share, and I've never gotten over a $300.
I saw that today. It was
So
I was like,
disrespectful.
what? Yeah, it's like give me that like $200 share, bro.
Yeah,
Come
please. Like that's nothing for these people. They're swinging multi-thousand-dollar shares. Just give me a Tesla share, please.
on. I know that would be dope, dude.
So you've been busy training.
Well,
Things have
so
been good then?
I was gonna say yeah. So it's kind of like I've taken the podcast to like 2 days a week usually. This week was only one, just for some reasons, but.
I meant to ask you. I was just for conversation's sake. I saw you had a lot of people. I was wondering what was your favorite show you've done since I've seen you last. It's been like 20, 30 fucking episodes almost now. 25.
There's so many good ones. It's hard to pick a favorite. I mean, even those 2 younger kids that came on were pretty cool stories. Like the one kid had like a crazy weight loss transformation, Seth. And then Tiana was crazy because the eating disorder thing. So it's like it's kind of weird because we're actually getting some people that are really brave and sharing like really real stories on here.
Yeah.
Which, like we said, can really help people. And for people to be that, open and, transparent.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable. That's the word. Thank you. I was digging for that. You saw that I was looking for it. Yeah. That's the exact word I was trying to get. It's pretty dope. The one that I really liked was that Barb Han chick, the former UFC fighter. Like there was something about. It's weird because pro wrestling and UFC are so different in a sense because one is a real sport and one is like a, performance.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
show.
sport, but it's a performance sport that's almost close to like acting or whatever, theatrics. But the part where you have a cross section with them is they're both a promotional thing. So you get that cross section of like, people hate Conor McGregor, they hate this, but it's like that shit's money, like the talking part.
Yeah.
People like to be purist and especially UFC, but it's like pro wrestling and UFC, the same thing sells the tickets is the shit talking.
Yeah, they're making millions off.
And then just stuff as simple as like, hey, there was kind of like pressure to get breast implants as a woman and stuff. It's like we're not saying it's right or wrong, but it's like it's a moneymaker. It's a thing that is so like, and that's the same as pro wrestling is. So it's like I could really relate to her on so many things. And I was going to tell you earlier too. A funny thing is like when you were talking about doing those things to get your body out of these things to get your kind of in a meditative state or get like reduce anxiety. The funny thing is the reason she liked jiu-jitsu so much is because she has high anxiety, and when she was training jiu-jitsu there was no option for her brain to be thinking about anything other than what she was doing at the exact
or else
moment.
you get kicked in the head.
Exactly. So that she liked it. It was therapeutic because it's like one of those, like it's kind of like you with lifting. When you're like under a bar lifting that much weight, your brain cannot. I mean, if you do have it somewhere else, you're probably going to get injured.
You're doing something wrong. You're having a hard time. Yeah. Like you said before, your brain does way better at physical things when you're not helping out. Like it's way faster.
It's weird because it's a different part of your brain, right? Like,
yeah, it's different. Those things go down your legs. They control your muscles. There's nerves and stuff. But we have a response time, and when you add in your response time, I don't know what it is, like 0.2 milliseconds, something like that for average humans. When you're doing a fight, that going back and forth is just too much time. You can't think it's not enough time. Your lift's over in that fraction of time. So. There's just quicker to just go. You just go by automated response. Your brain does it without you thinking about it.
Well, it's kind of like I like to work so hard during the day that like when I go to sleep at night, I can't even. My brain can't do that thing where it stays up because it's like you're so exhausted you fall right to sleep. And that's the best. Like that's the only thing because I know a lot of people have trouble sleeping, and that's the only thing I can come up with. And I know that doesn't work for everybody, but for me, if I like put in some work during the day, I sleep so good at night. Yeah, just to get that brain shut up. But you're saying that stuff about muscles, dude, like not to be trippy and stuff, but have you ever thought about how weird that is that you can just like...
Yeah, I think about it all the
like,
time.
oh, how do I do this? Look I can just make my fingers do that.
It's pretty crazy, honestly.
Like I'm just sending some signal, but it's like I don't really even know how I'm doing it.
thoughts, man.
I know, but I'm not thinking like,
Yeah,
move
bend
this finger one
this
degree
joint,
this way.
joint.
It's just naturally
That's
right
why
there.
it takes so much brain power to do that.
And then you think about like I said, I've met all these dudes who are musicians now too, which is crazy. Like a lot of bodybuilders. So shout out to Frankie that was on last week. He was also a musician. And then another guy, his Instagram is Big Freaking Neil. What is it? Neil, I forget his last name, but he works out over at the Hop. And this dude is huge right now. And I mean huge, dude. But another guy that I've had in here that like sent me music, and I was like, same with you, when I was floored. I'm like, oh, it's actually good too. That you're always kind of like, when you meet someone and they're like, oh, I do music, you're like,
God, yeah.
Until you actually hear it, and it's like, oh, but he actually is good. Like,
especially in metal. I can't tell you how many people have been like, yo, bro, I scream too. Listen to this. And I'm like, oh.
That's horrific. Yeah.
God.
Because that's a talent in itself, the scream thing. It's like.
It is. Anybody who listens to it and says this is like, it's a skill, even if you don't like it or not. Like, I'm sorry.
It's a skill, because I know guys who can scream that I like, and then other people, it's like.
And then try to do it for more than 4 seconds. You do it for 40 minutes straight, like in a show. And then it's a whole different conversation.
That's why I always think it's funny when people shit on like old musicians. They're like, you can't sing anymore. I'm like, bro, you try doing what they've just done for over 40 years and see how good you sound. Like, to me, it's like, honestly, if they still sound halfway good, like that's pretty dope.
And when your voice is your body's your instrument. Yeah. And if your instrument's just getting older and outdated, it's going to change.
That's why, like, if you're out of health, I feel like the singers who stay healthy definitely can keep their voice better.
For sure.
Because it's like, who do you think are the greatest rock singers that maybe people don't like? Like Axl Rose is a big one. People don't like his voice much anymore. I still think it's great in a way. Obviously, he can't do what he used to do. I think Steven Tyler still sounds great.
Tyler, I couldn't think of his name.
Dude, I've seen him recently sing "Dream On," and I think he still sounds pretty fucking amazing.
Fair.
I mean, some days he has bad days. Don't get me wrong, like all of them. But I love Dave Mustaine too in Megadeth, and he's had some trouble with his voice lately.
Ozzy's still going?
Ozzy still sounds relatively
he was
great.
delirious beforehand, so
yeah. It's weird how great he sounds on album. And I mean, he sounds pretty good live too, but it's wild that he still has that skill when he's so fucked up just in talking and stuff. But then he can sit at a mic and he's like, just sing perfectly. Yeah. It's wild, especially at 70 years old, and he still has that pretty voice.
It's like a movie where you have somebody who's disabled, but you put them in front of a piano and they can suddenly play. It's miraculous.
They're just killing it.
That's Ozzy.
That's Ozzy.
He's just tapped out.
He's all over the place when he's not up behind a mic.
Give him a microphone and he can start walking. He gets out of the chair.
And still with all that personality too. Like you hear it in his voice when he's singing. He still delivers. Yeah.
He's in his 70s.
That's what makes it so wild, I think.
Playing metal in your 70s.
And he has Parkinson's, and it's like he's still like.
I saw them 3 years ago. It was a very good show. They still kill it.
He blames that on this paranormal doll. Like so there's this doll called the Annabelle movies, right?
Yeah.
So this was on a podcast, these two ghost hunters, but then I talked to my friend Jonathan, the one that's like into the paranormal stuff. About this doll
that he sold his soul
possessed doll
for music skills.
Yeah, and so basically it's kind of a tourist thing now, right? This doll. So here it is. Ozzy Osbourne blames year of bad luck on creepy haunted doll he tried to blow up. It's let's find out the name of this doll. And it's funny because the doll looks like nice, but it's supposedly has some evil demon inside of it or something. And
what year was this that he tried to blow his doll up?
I think it was not too long. It was like it was when his son had that TV show where they would go travel. And I think they went and saw this doll. And it's Robert the Doll. And so the original doll is the inspiration for the Chucky film franchise. So the story of Robert the Doll is that it's cursed by the spirit of its owner, who's obviously, inside the doll now. If you disrespect him, make fun of him, take a picture without asking or even handle him, you'll be cursed and terrible things will begin to happen in your life. So it was on Ozzy and Jack's World. It was like this A&E show. They go see the doll, and then so basically Ozzy's like blamed him getting Parkinson's and all this. I'm like, it's like maybe it was all the years of drugs and stuff, or maybe it's just the doll, dude.
It could be true. If if you believe in spirituality enough to think like manifesting and creating, your surroundings, perceptions are real, then why couldn't that be real? Other
Yeah, that's what I mean.
dimensions-
Who knows, dude? Like when we're talking about all this stuff, Lily, I'm open to all this shit now. But yeah. So anyway, Robert the Doll. That's why Ozzy says it. He got Parkinson's, which is wild, man.
Poor Robbie.
But that's why you don't fuck with these spirits and stuff.
Yeah, why would you bother trying to believe that? Like, I had friends. I used to live in a house when I was in the band. The two roommates that liked the Ouija boards.
Yeah.
And one day they saw them using it when I came home, and I was like, "Why?" I don't know for sure if you're talking to ghosts if it's real, but why try? Like,
well, that's what I mean. So I'm always like, "Oh, that shit's all bullshit, bro."
I'm not gonna
But if
try
you're like,
that.
"Let's do a Ouija board," I'd be like, "I'm out."
Yeah.
So part of me must kind of believe in it.
I got angry. I said, "Don't do that."
Because I don't want to fuck with it.
Because what if there's an angry ghost here? I don't know how to handle a ghost.
Yeah, now you're fucking with like
And what
you
am I
definitely
supposed to
don't
do?
want a ghost in your space of living.
Yeah.
If there are ghosts and they're real, like I
They're
just
not so
don't.
friendly. Casper.
Casper was dope, dude.
Casper could. I could
Remember
handle
that?
Casper.
He was like hooking up with Wednesday. Yeah. Wednesday Addams. So wasn't she in that? Like they kind of hooked up at the end. Like
I don't think so. I don't know.
oh, I'm pretty sure they kissed at least.
I don't know. I haven't seen Casper since I was a kid.
Yeah, it was like Casper's a ghost. It's like Wednesday. Christina Ricci's in it.
Is it Wendy?
Well, it's Christina Ricci. She played Wednesday
played-
Addams,
okay.
but then she was the actress in the Casper show.
Oh, okay.
And so she's like hanging out in the basement, finds out the ghost is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then remember there was like 3 goofy like bad ghosts, and then Casper's the good one. That was a pretty good movie,
What
actually.
if you had a ghost in your house that you just didn't get along with? Like, didn't do anything wrong, was just a really weird dude that you just hated talking to, and you just always... That would be...
I mean, that'd just be like having a shitty roommate. Like it's like, so we've all been there. You know? Like,
that's...
yeah. I mean, yeah, that would be kind of weird, dude. But no, like, yeah, Casper turns into a human for like 1 second, and then they like make out.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
I actually remember that.
But
It was a racy to see that as a kid.
oh yeah, that was some
Cover my eyes.
Right, that's naughty stuff.
That's where my trauma started.
Probably
Casper.
it just ruined us. Casper, you guys went too far. It should have
Too
been
far.
PG-13. Come on, it probably was PG-13.
I'm not sure.
Um,
So your show's coming up?
oh, bodybuilding show,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, which is wild.
What's the date?
You know, it's in the end of April, but I forgot the date. Shit.
Yeah.
I know it. I'm 13 weeks
Got
out.
some time.
I sent the time to my neighbors are super supportive. They want to go. So I did send them the date. I'm freaked out a little bit, man.
Why is that?
Well, just it's something I've never done. So like freaked out kind of in a good way. Like I'm excited, but it's the unknown. Like I got really lean, but I've never got that lean. And like being lean's weird. It's like it is weird. Getting lean was weird because like I never really had a problem with binging until after I got lean, and then for a couple weeks I really had to like. I was just doing that like every Friday. I would just like kind of like eat way too much shit because it was like my cheat day that turned cheat meal that turned into a cheat day, and then kind of like Sam was saying, but you were so lean at the time, you'd like binge that Friday, wake up the next day all shredded, and you'd be like, oh, I'm immortal, and it's like you get this weird. And then now, after like a few weeks of backing off of being that lean, like it just went away. I don't have like I'm like back to normal.
Yeah.
But it was weird. Like you get so lean, it like definitely it must be your body like just like wants calories or something.
Yeah, I mean you're starving.
You're just basically
It wants
starving.
it.
Yeah.
Your body thinks you're just dying. It doesn't know you're doing it on purpose.
Right. I know. So it's kind of weird. I feel better with like if I kind of just cheat meals fine, but I think people get a little. It's got to just be a cheat meal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like the word cheat. It's got to be a refeed meal. It's got to be...
I like that better.
Cheating is implying that it's supposed to be something dirty and gross and against the rules. It's not a bad thing. I think that brings such an unhealthy relationship with food when people say, like, oh, I have a cheat meal. It's like, it's part of the plan. Like, it's not...
Well, I was thinking that
it's a good thing.
Because I know people with the whole we've had like guests with eating disorders, and I have a friend, and I think they're horrible and stuff. It's funny because like it is about a relationship with food because like I think about like Christmas or whatever. Like I make a point to like just take the whatever I'm doing all this bodybuilding stuff, but like Christmas, I just have a good relationship with food. Like when I eat like on Christmas, I don't like feel guilty after or feel shitty. I feel like amazing. It's weird. Like to me, like hang out with friends. Like if I did it all the time, I know I'd start feeling like shit.
Yeah.
Just because of the eventually with the health problems and all that. But like that day, like hanging out with friends, watching Christmas movies, going to town just like on whatever we want, just snacking, eating, and then you just sit on the couch like full that day, and like I feel good about it. To me, it doesn't feel like a guilty thing. It feels
you
like
feel guilty. We're supposed to eat. We're supposed to enjoy these things.
But I think other people do that and then they feel terrible.
Yeah, and that just gets you in a vicious cycle because then you binge and because you go so crazy from not having food and enjoying food. It can be dangerous. It just sets you up for disappointment. But
do you know any, like, you have a lot of clients? What are some tricks for people that have that kind of stuff that you? I like what you said about not vilifying food, because I think that does make, and we're in this industry where, we get very particular about what we put in our body and stuff. Which, I mean, if you obviously there's, negative health impact of eating shitty and eating whatever you want whenever you want, but there's also the negative thing of like being so strict that you cause yourself these crazy binges and stuff. Like, it's like there's got to be some kind of middle ground or like healthier, and maybe bodybuilding just is sort of inherently unhealthy in certain ways. I don't know. Like,
any sport at its extreme, like at its high level, is not normal.
Yeah, because you're going after a thing. It's competitive.
Yeah, no matter what sport, whether it's running, like you're gonna have to push yourself past what the human barrier is supposed to, like what we're designed for.
It's obsession,
it's not healthy at any point.
But if you want the fucking the ring, you want the brass ring, you got to go after it. Yeah,
I think bodybuilding, like pro bodybuilding, is pretty unhealthy. But if you're casually, you just want to lift some weights, like it's not like that's fine. It's good for you.
Oh, super good
but
for you.
But if you want to be a competitor, it starts to get a little blurred.
Right, and so then there's things you can do, I think, to make it healthier, obviously, but it's part of the game, right? It's like,
I mean, depending like how far you want to go in it.
Right. It's just part of the game, man.
It is part of the game, but having a healthy relationship with food is very important because going back to like perception and relativity is that there's no such thing as a good or bad food. It's depending on what your goals are. And it even depends on like what species you are. There could be another alien that thinks sugars just make them jacked as fuck. It's just it's relative to a human. It's relative to organic life, but there's no such thing. There's not even such thing as good or bad events. Like a lot of crimes, like it's bad to the person that's getting the crime done, but the person, even a murderer, they're enjoying. They might be like it's. I'm not saying I'm supporting.
No. I know exactly.
Good and bad is all relative. Or a better example in the wild, a lion kills a deer. It's good to one. It's evil to the. It's all. So there's no such thing. So with that application in food, it's just like, what is the food and how is this relating to your goal and how's it affecting your life, and you go from there. So people get such a bad relationship because they say like, oh, sugars are bad. Having cake is bad. Eating this food is... Well, no, it's not. Eating it so much that you're fat and can't compete's bad. But the food, there's nothing wrong with the food. It's your self-control. That's the problem.
Right.
The food, it's just not conducive to your goal right now.
I like that better.
And then that's the way my partner Angelica had framed it to me when I was having an issue. Because I've binge eat a lot when I've been in preps because I've had to be lean before. I'm working on it now. But I've done it. And
I said I did it too. I mean, guilty. I was
a big binger. I'm big on peanut butter. Like I will...
Oh, I could eat a jar.
I'll eat a full fucking jar. I have 3 pinted Ben and Jerry's, one after another, many times. And
I love me some ice cream, dude.
So I've done it, but you have to have that healthier relationship where you don't get to that point because you don't snap because you're letting yourself have these things because we're allowed to have them in applications. That's why I like the word refeed meal. Is it's actually good to have a refeed meal regularly. It's good for your metabolism. You'll weigh a little heavier the next day, but then you'll start dropping weight because your metabolism's going again.
Right, because I think when you get really lean, sometimes you do mess your metabolism up.
Well, you do. I think about it in a very simple survival response. Is if you're starved for a long time, your body doesn't know that you're doing this recreationally. It thinks you're running out of food. So at a point, it's going to stop burning calories effectively. It's going to store them. And that's the basis of reverse dieting and stuff, is at a point your body thinks you're going to fucking die and it's not going to burn your fat anymore. It's going to store it all because it thinks you need it.
It doesn't know that, like, I want to look ripped, bro.
It doesn't know.
It doesn't give a fuck about Instagram.
That's the idea of bodybuilding in its entirety is your muscles grow because your body doesn't know that you're not in danger. Your body thinks a barbell curl is going to tear your muscle and it needs to get stronger. It doesn't know the difference.
Dude, what if someday our bodies adapt to understand that we need to look ripped on Instagram,
and you just don't get bigger,
so it just understands not to store about like because our bodies are so out of date for like that's why everybody's so unhappy.
That would be a good movie.
Isn't that funny? Like our bodies are still used to like basically hunter-gatherer lifestyle, living in little pods with other people. And they have not changed, but I mean, that's probably why the majority of people are so depressed and unhappy.
I was thinking about that a lot today, and I actually wanted to talk about it a little. Is why I think that's where most people now, like everybody knows that mental illness rate's going up, and it's not because there's more awareness. It's because we're living in a society that we weren't evolved to, and it's bad for our fucking brain. You know, the amount of dopamine we were supposed to get a day is like, oh, you know, like I hunted, I got something, I got a few berries. My wife, you know, I mated, like, but now we open up my Instagram feed and I get slammed 44 fucking times in a minute. That's so bad for your brain.
Well, that's like that. So what do you think about like the no FAP thing? You know, like
there's much merit to it, and I myself am off pornography and that kind of thing because it's you know, all the things that we discipline against are some form of like you know, a manifestation of a sin, like lust, you know, or gluttony. So what we have to resist those things is training discipline so that we can get better at doing them. So if you discipline yourself to not indulge in sexual food endeavors, then you're more likely to not indulge elsewhere.
Well, it's kind of like I'm not trying to vilify porn, not porn actors, not any of that stuff. But I do think every time you do it, it's a dopamine hit.
It is.
And so if you're just doing it all, like, and I do think it does tie into, especially for males, lack of like going out and trying to achieve things in the real world, because you just hit this dopamine button. Each time you just lay in your bed and you do it, it's like, well, I don't have to go find a real woman, or I don't have to go achieve something that will attract a real mate to me, or, you know, and it's just like too easy to hit that. So I've kind of been like more leaning towards that too. It's more of it's a discipline thing. And I mean, not to be weird, but there's so much going around about it now. Like, and I do think there is some like value in staying away from it.
I think there is too. Like we said, with the evolving as humans and things we're designed to do, we weren't designed to be looking at this kind of stuff for as long as you know, I'm sorry to say it, but you look online and you look at animal documentaries, they have sex for like a couple seconds, and that's like, this is not a large fraction of their day. But, you know, you'll look at the stuff, you know, your cinema on the internet for 40 minutes, like you know, if you do this for 15 minutes a day, that's a long
I mean, porn changed porn is the one that like brings, like, that's what brought the industry of like VHS. Renting like porn's like the leader in everything. You realize that? Isn't that funny?
It's crazy.
So it's wild. And then if you look at any data of what people are actually looking at, I think they do state by state, dude. It's fucking wild. It's like, holy shit. God, it's very telling, you know.
It is, and as you said, it comes down to dopamine. It's that overloaded the sensors, so you become raw to it, and then it's that never-ending chasing the dragon of you need more and more and more and more and more.
That's why I think it's better to limit.
When you don't get the dopamine, you get depressed, you get sad, you get anxious.
Right.
Because a survival response is, if you're not getting the dopamine, it means I'm not getting food, it means I'm not getting sex, it means I'm not surviving. So it's going to make me feel in a state of defense. I'm going to feel anxiety, so that like, anxiety it's a survival response. Having too much is bad, but you need it. So, you know, that's a response. Your body feels like it's not getting dopamine, it's not getting this, it goes into survival response, and we feel that as depression, stress, tension, anger. You know, that's why phones are bad for you. The internet's bad.
Well, and I noticed that you've been posting a lot of stuff about, you know, just hard pursuits, hard things, like why doing things you don't want to do is so good for you. And I think that ties into that too, with like, you know, even if you're not going to quit it completely, limiting those type of things, where it's like,
telling your body,
because it's just another dopamine kick. And like you said, you get so desensitized to it that our bodies don't know how to function properly, because we need good, like, you get together with friends and family and you have a giant meal. It's like this great dopamine hit, and it's good, and it's like a warm feeling because you're sharing it with people. But if you're just like eating shit constantly throughout the day by yourself, like you kind of ruin that again. It's like if we were in a tribe, we would have had a kill, and then at the end of the day we would have roasted the kill, and we would have had stuff that we'd collected, and we would all share in the food, and we'd fill our bellies at night and sleep, and then in the morning we'd wake up hungry again, and we'd have to go do it again. You know, but now it's like we just get the dopamine over and over and over and over again, and it's like we just feel no purpose, no meaning. So that discipline gives you that purpose back, I feel like.
It does, and what it does is it lowers that you know, that threshold for adapting to the sensitivity. It brings the sensitivity back to the dopamine. So the things that would not get you the dopamine anymore, less their levels of that. So like, you don't need as much pornography to get aroused anymore. You don't need to eat so much cake, you know, and you know, that's
and that's the problem. Those people that get so deep into it, like I've literally heard dudes on podcasts say they've had to back off because it got them to a point of like, you know, they had to look at weirder and weirder stuff to even like get her. It's like, but if you limit that, like it's kind of like anything. If you overdo it, if you give yourself more discipline in everything, you're going to be able to feel joy a lot more when something does. So like, you get so carried away with like this, like you said, chasing the dragon stuff, that like you can't even enjoy normal good things anymore, because you've taken everything to certain heights where it's like,
that's the cycle we a lot of us get into. That's why I backed off of Instagram, because I'll admit, like, I have an Instagram addiction. I will pull this motherfucking out, and I'll look through my story, I'll look who's viewed it, I'll look at who's shit, and I know that a lot of you people watching this probably like, oh, it's weird, but you all do it too. Like,
they all do it too.
Don't bull crap me. And like, you caught myself doing it, and I'd realized that, like, it's really bad for me, and like I couldn't stop myself from going through that loop. So I just,
it's like, oh, who looked at my story?
I just turned the app, and I just didn't look at it for like 2 months, because you get in that loop where you're hit with the dopamine so much that you start to lose joy in other things in your life.
It's weird.
You don't get that same response from things that would normally bring it to you elsewhere.
It's a dopamine machine, the phone.
It is. I keep thinking, like, we're in a society where we're all being mentally put in turmoil from technology and things. I feel like when I was younger and people would say this, I'd be like, I love the internet, you're just an old man. But now that I'm learning more about how the chemistry works of the brain, it's like, it kind of makes sense, it kind of adds up.
Well, I find a lot of the stuff, as I get older, I start sounding more like a boomer about certain things, like fuck, I mean, I try to still keep up with the times and stay open-minded about stuff, but yeah, I think certain things, and I'm sure by the time we're like 70 or 80, we'll have even more.
Yeah, and then we'll be the boomers, and then people will be like, oh, this generation,
I think we are kind of ageist in our society, where like we should listen to older people sometimes. Not all the time, because sometimes they're just,
I think there should be less older people in the government. Yeah,
I think that I'm with you on that.
We're so out of touch with society now.
Or at least a mix. Let's get young blood and like not just all 80-year-olds.
And I think we should get some low economy people in there. I think people who were born rich are so out of fucking.
Well, they're the only ones that can get in there, though.
I know, that's the problem. That's why the system is so.
If you're not part of that club, dude, you're
like, why are the 1% ruling the 90%?
So you're at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah.
And you're never, I mean, barely ever does anyone get, we'll be lucky if we can get to the middle of the pyramid. And that's all I want. And then I'll say whatever you guys want from the top. Whatever you want me to tell. I don't want this to get canceled. I don't want to get taken down. Whatever whatever the story they're telling me, that's the true story.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, man.
The king slayed the dragon. He did not trip on his cape and the other guy had to kill it. He's got a 10-inch dick. It's all true. The king, everything he says, I'm sticking with his story. No, I'm just kidding. But I thought of that analogy the other day of how, like, social media works. Like, there's people at the bottom of the pyramid, and then there's, like, the middle, then it goes up, and you get to the top, and it's, like, the story coming down is, like, the king slayed the dragon, he's super brave, and he has a 10-inch dick. But then it's, like, now with social media, we can, like, know more stuff. So it's, like, actually, I was there, and I got on my phone, like, the king, like, tripped. Yeah. He fell, almost cut himself on his sword, and like the other guy had to go kill the dragon. He was just a klutz, and then the other girl's like, yeah, and like my girlfriend, she hooked up with the king. His dick's like 5 inches, So it's like, it's weird because like all of a sudden we can get like more and more, but then it also opens up to like, you never know. Now there's a bunch of shit that's like a lot of stuff that's not true.
There's a lot of uncredible sources now. And the problem being that anybody has a voice now. And
trying to sift through what's real anymore is just...
As a lifter, oh my God.
Even in the lifting world of like...
Honestly, I would say about 95% of powerlifting pages I see, I'm just like, I don't know.
Are there any kind of mainstream accounts, like, so I know we're talking about Instagram, where you really kind of respect these people, look up to? Science-wise?
There's a guy, Big Mike Van Wyck. He's got a page I really like.
Okay.
He's another big tattooed white guy.
Smart,
has a really good approach. There's a guy, Lift Run something, Bag One. I can't remember his name, but also another smart guy. I don't remember their names.
Right.
I personally don't spend, based on what we just talked about, too much time looking at people on the internet.
Now, you said that you are thinking about getting into some Muay Thai.
I am practicing now. I'm just going next week. I'm going to Florida for a week, so I'm going to sign up at a gym here when I come back. I just didn't want to, start for a week, but I've been doing light sparring with a friend at a gym. Well, I guess not sparring, going through drills with the mats and stuff, just practicing dodging and footwork. Because
now, has that been hard to transition with your years and years of powerlifting?
Honestly, it's been pretty good. I don't mean to tote, but I'm one of the powerlifters that actually does mobility stuff. I take care of my hips, and I'm a squatter by, it's my best lift.
Well, you're kind of known as the squat guy, dude.
That's my thing. So I have really good hip control, which is great for Muay Thai, because you have to have a very good, stable foundation through the hips and the base so that you can transition from kicks to punches.
Yeah.
It's
kind of right up your alley.
Yeah, it's Thailand's kickboxing, which is more kick oriented than American kickboxing, which is a little more square with more fists. which I think I'll do better at.
And so what is driving you to do this?
Ever since I was a kid, I always liked boxing. I thought that it was just the strategy, the competitive aspect. But it just wasn't really enough for me. I heard about the sport recently, and I really was interested in it. But honestly, I just love to learn things. I love to do things. Now that I'm practicing things regularly, I just realize I have more time to do things.
Yeah.
And I feel guilty lately spending time doing stupid things like feeding my dopamine machine.
You have this one, who knows, this could be the only one life we ever have. And you have this one opportunity to live it. And it's like spending it watching Netflix and like all this, when you could be like, so now you're like, well, now I'm training in Muay Thai. Like that seems like so much more of a valiant
and that comes from what we were talking about earlier with the time and everything. And one of my favorite famous quotes from Eric Thomas said, it's simple. He said, if you have a cell phone and you don't know calculus, it's your fault. And that's related to this because we have so much time that we're spending doing stupid shit with our phones when literally if you just spent 20, 30 minutes a day with anything, you could learn. Information's out there.
That's the beauty of the phone, too. We could be using it to get intelligent.
Any information that you learn in school is on the fucking phone for free.
Yeah,
anything
you could get a college degree, the equivalent of it just with your phone.
I mean, you might not be able to say you have the diploma. You can get the knowledge.
That's what I mean.
You can teach yourself any highest level of math you can on the fucking phone. Like, so, I mean, that quote, saying calculus can relate to anything. So I was like, well, if I want to be a fighter and I'm not a good fighter, it's because I chose not to be. If I'm not good at this, it's because I spend so much time on my phone. And I know a lot of people listening probably think they don't spend a lot of time on their phone, but if you were to take an audit of your time every day, I promise you, it's a scary thing, but write down what you do every day and see how much fucking time you waste. You just be like, you could be a professional fighter.
I get those screen time things, I'm horrified by my screen times.
And then just look at that screen time next time and imagine if you spent that time every day training at one thing, you would be the world's best at it. An hour, like most of us lifters and the high level guys train maybe an hour to 2 hours a day. That's time some of us spend on our phones. You could be a pro fucking bodybuilder, but you're spending it on your fucking phone. You know? So that's what I think of, and that's why I got into the sport. Is I wanted to spend more time being productive. I really liked it, and I like to learn. And powerlifting, I love it. But
it's always starting something new changes you. You're adding to your arsenal as a human being, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's always that fear of like you have to be bad at something to get good at it. So it's like it's first of all it's brave to start something new because you're not good at it yet. So being able to put yourself in that situation and then you're going to be learning something new and it's something of value because now like as a human being on the planet Earth you have more in your arsenal. Like if something does go sideways or this or that, you now have this like new skill of how to conduct yourself. Say there's a dangerous person or this happens. Like now you have this extra skill that's going to help you in life. And then it's kind of what you're saying, like you realize you're spending all this time doing these things, like so now you're taking and you're having a valuable pursuit instead of watching Netflix and jerking off. You're learning something. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're learning something good. Like
you're spending your time with something good. It's like guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger who had successful careers in 3 things. All these successful people that do great things, they have the same time resource that we do. You've probably heard it from speakers all the time. So that's what it comes down to is they wake up every day with the same resource. If you think of it instead of time, you say money, like they wake up with the same amount of money as you do every day. I have the same 24 hours. He has 24 hours. Arnold did. Right. But when he was 40 years old, he was a movie star. He was 7 times Olympia, and then it got. So the only reason why we're not that good is because you just chose to waste it. Like there's no. They didn't have anything.
Especially if you have a lot of potential.
I think we all have potential.
And I think everybody does.
I think hard work can I don't give a fuck about genetics. I don't.
Hard work can outdo it. Huh?
I think it can do even in. I don't care what sport. I think people argue with me on it. But if you give me one guy who never made a mistake, then I don't think that hard work can't.
I tend to lean more towards your side. I think there are definitely people that are gifted genetically, but
genetics is real. Yeah, it's real. It's real. I
feel like you can even change them in a sense. I mean,
how so?
Well, not.
Well, I mean, steroids levels the playing field.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that with
well, I'm not saying the actual physical thing, but like, say that you have like bad habits or whatever. I'm not saying you can change your genetics, but I think you can get them to express in the most positive way possible for them. Yeah. So versus like. Same genetic person, but I have terrible habits for myself. I look this certain way. My brain works this certain way. My mental health is a certain way. Same exact genetics if I am like doing things that make them express in a positive way, healthier, basically bringing them to like the height of their potential, you're going to be a totally different person. So it's the same genetics, just two different expressions of it.
Yeah, and there is science behind genetic traits that only express throughout the aging process during a certain stimulus.
Yeah.
It's this whole I don't know enough about it to go on it, but there is some genetic markers that only trigger during, that are inactive until X amount happens. So
Right.
That's a whole nother, I don't know enough, but it's something to think
Well,
about.
I just saw this thing about like even just like if you move to a different area where you have to prove yourself again, it can turn on different things in your genetics that you didn't, because you're in a place so long, you get really complacent. Now your body's kind of in that like, fight or flight again, because you're in a new place. You have to prove yourself again. You're not sure of it. It can get your genes to express the best, kind of turn them on again.
Yeah. I could see that, especially as a male territory thing.
Yeah,
you
know
go
what
to
I'm
a new
saying?
place, you got to fire it up.
Yeah, it's like you have to do it again, because it's like, well, people don't know me here. I can't be complacent. I have to prove myself again. And yeah, so I think there's something to that for sure.
Absolutely.
I think that too with like habits of like families, like with like obesity and stuff like that. Like clearly genetics plays a role, but I think if you have like two parents that maybe have obesity, but they've changed it, they've created themselves a healthier environment, and they've gotten their genetics to express in a better way, their children will probably tend to have more of those healthy habits, even though they're. Yeah. But if they're in the world where the the habits are not so good, they're probably going to tend. So I don't think it's all just genetics. It's some of it's environment. I think it's both.
Well, nature versus nurture, the whole science debate. It's definitely both.
Just like everything, right? Everything's kind of like
a little
that.
Bit of both. And
nature and nurture.
If your parents have habits and things that they value, you're going to be more likely. If they don't value healthy eating because they eat whatever, then you're more likely. It's of course.
Right. Even just like healthy behaviors versus toxic ones.
Yeah, you learn behaviors from your parents too, like little things on like how they handle personal relations and arguments. Like one thing is like every time you watch your parents argue when you were a kid, it was teaching you how to argue with your spouse, and you don't think that, but like that's what you learned.
Right.
The most times you'd seen someone argue was probably your parents. Another couple.
So maybe not know what not to do from that, hopefully, but a lot of times we just end up doing the same thing.
Yeah, your kids learn a lot. I mean, I'm not a parent, but kids learn a lot from just observing their parents. That's how humans learn most of the things that we learn. So be careful. You're teaching.
Well, they're
kids,
watching.
They're watching
every
you all
move.
the time, and that's normal to them because they've seen it. That's all the brain does is they see a behavior and they see that it's often, so it must be.
That's interesting because I've talked to so many people, and some of them even on this podcast, where having a child is kind of the thing that really gets them to get their life together, because they don't want to be. They want to be a better influence for that child. Like they realize that's when they usually get their shit together. A lot of people.
Yeah, and
because it's like I can't be this example. I have to be a better example for my children.
And what that is you think humans we need something bigger than ourselves to motivate us, because we'll let ourselves down any day.
I know.
You need to have a big vision, and that's even if it's one that you've created in your head. You need to tell yourself that what you're doing is very fucking important. And some people don't have that, and then they have a child, and they're like, okay, well, it's not just me anymore. This is bigger than me. It's not me anymore. And then that's motivating. It's an external, which is very valuable. So I think it's a cool thing to think of, because that applies to a lot of goals. Like if you have bodybuilding and you're not really motivated, well, think about how that affects other people and how and use that as your drive, because you got to make it bigger than yourself. You got to be like, oh, well, what is this action impacting that's more than me? And you're more likely to do that because you're more likely to want to please others and make sure that other people are okay.
Right. So I was going to say, is that something that you can do as like a coach and kind of an example for people? Does that keep you motivated?
Because it keeps me motivated. Absolutely.
Right. There's people that look to you to be that guy, so you can't let them down. And I feel like that's a positive thing.
I think of it every single day when I'm about to skip a meal or something like that. I think about like literally my father is watching me right now, and he's waiting on me to set records so that I can help him pay off his house. And he's struggling right now at this moment, like at work, because and watching me like disappointed, or my future child is watching me fuck off right now thinking like, Dad, like we got bills,
Right.
That's what I do, because it makes it bigger than me, because I'll be like, oh sure, I won't eat whatever, fine. But
Making it bigger than you matters, though. I feel like
it does, and the bigger your goal is, the bigger it has to be above you. So if you want to do something really great, you really got to have some motivation for it, because there's going to be times where, if it's Inky Johnson quote, he said, if something comes up against you and you don't have something bigger than you, then you're just going to get knocked down every time. If it's just about you, you're going to give up. So you need to have something. That's what having a child is great for. It helps people get that.
It's something outside of myself that's going to push me. Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, you know, and a lot of times you do things, you know, for yourself, but it's like, I think you're right. I feel like it has to have a bigger meaning than just you sometimes. And I think that, I mean, obviously I feel like you should, I do a lot of work on caring enough about myself also to take care of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a tough thing too. It's like, you'll start catching yourself slip or something. It's like, you know, you deserve to be taken care of well, so you need to take care of yourself well.
Yeah. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, huge. That's huge.
Well, that's back to the Instagram thing. So I'd taken a break off, and there's still like, I don't get back to some people anymore just because I know that it's just going to stress me out. It's not their fault, you know. I just know that on the internet too much. I shouldn't be on, and it's because of that. It's like, you might make some people upset, but you got to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, you know.
For me, if anybody ever wants to like remove themselves from social media or Instagram, I'm always like kind of on board. Like, do it, you know. But sometimes I do think it's funny, like there is like me and my friends in this text thread, we have this thing where we kind of like send each other like funny Facebook profiles sometimes, where we're like joking about like, you know, these are like crazy, like the earth is flat, like some of these people with crazy, we're like, we could make a coffee book table out of like the, you know, kind of like people of Walmart, but with like crazy Instagram profiles. But so there is this one thing I see that always kind of annoys me. It's like, and I know these people they just mean well, but like they'll make this announcement like, yeah, I'm taking a break from social media for mental health problems. Just wanted to announce it to everybody. And it's like, nobody really asked or even cares, but thanks for making a post about it. And then like 2 hours later, they'll post something. It's like, what happened? So you just did that for attention, this grand, like,
you got to go for a couple weeks.
It's like, if you're going to take a break, take a break. Like, you know, like just, so I know a lot of people that just, they don't make an announcement like that. They just get rid of it and they just take a break from it. And I think it's healthy. I think other people do that announcement thing meaning to take a break, but then it's like you said, it's that dopamine thing. So I think they actually aren't doing it for attention. They're doing it because they actually mean they do need a break. But then it's just that thing. Yeah, it's the drug. It gets them a couple hours later, they're back on.
Dopamine addict. You know, I sympathize for anybody out there who thinks that they have an internet addiction, because I think it's a true thing. People spend too much because of that time on the internet and on the phones because of that dopamine fix. You know, every time you check your phone out of reflex to just surf stuff, you're just looking for a like, that's what that is. You know?
Quick dopamine.
You know, people might want to think it's crude to be that simple, but it really is. You know, there is like, this is just how it works.
Every time you get a little heart on Instagram, it's a little ooh, somebody likes
me. And then,
me.
you know, people look for that approval, and then like the problem comes is when they open it up and they don't have that like, and they don't have that, and then that just says, oh, I don't have that dopamine I wanted, and then it reinforces the negativity of I'm not worth it, I'm not good, you know. And you get that every single time you were to look, you know. And that's where the stress can. You look through your viewers and you're like, oh, this person didn't look, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit. And then your brain just got told 14 times in this hour that you're a piece of shit. And how many times have you looked at yourself and said, good job, Nick, like, I really am proud of you. You don't do that. We only think...
That's really weird, because I've never, like, thought of that. Like, I've never done that.
One of the most freeing feelings is look yourself in the mirror and say, like, I'm proud of you, you did a really good job today.
Right.
And, like, give yourself a high five and, like...
Yeah, like, actually care about you, like, realize you're worth it. You know what's funny, though? I think you're right, because I know everybody at least once has posted something and then not got enough likes and been like, I'm deleting it. I don't want anybody to see it.
You know, we all
Everybody's done that before. Know? Like, oh, shit, my post didn't get enough likes. I'm embarrassed. I don't really do that anymore, but I've definitely done that.
I used to do it a lot more, and I only do it to like a story here and there.
Now if I post something, I mean to post it, and I post it, and if nobody likes it, I don't give a fuck, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm at that point. Yeah. I post stuff for myself, and I mean, obviously part of it is kind of what you said. I'm doing it also for other people, kind of like trying to live up to whatever this thing I'm trying to be, you know, but because it does keep me motivated. So that's why I do like it, because it's kind of like, and plus it's kind of like a game, right? Like it's like, it gives me something like, okay, if I know I have to post, I'm going to try to be in better shape, because I don't want to, you know, like, so it keeps me kind of motivated to like keep myself going on my goals. Yeah. Whereas if I, you know, now this show is like the biggest thing like that, because it's like, oh shit, I have to be in my underwear in front of a bunch of people.
At that date, you better be ready.
That's fucked up, dude. That's creepy, but it's like, I mean, I think I got a good coach, and I think I can do it. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to look. I don't know. I'll probably look really skinny, I feel like.
I think everybody looks skinnier up there.
Especially like your first show, and I don't have that much muscle on me yet.
Yeah, those lights make you look smaller, I think, when you're up on the stage.
So I'm like, I feel like I'm just going to look like a little skeleton. Like,
who cares what you look like?
But hey.
You're just human in a body.
Well, and then the thing is, you go to the show, you do it, and then you learn from it. And then I've seen a lot of people where if they stick with it, when you see like their first show compared to where they are, it's like it is something you have to stick with. It's not like I mean, some people like genetically they look great right away. Like I know this pro wrestler Alexander Hammerstone. The dude like I mean, he's on lots of gear and he admits it, but he looks like stage ready, and he doesn't even do bodybuilding shows, but I'm like, he's like, you know, jokes around about doing it. It's like, bro, you look stage ready. Like you look 4 weeks out year round. I don't know what the fuck.
Genetics.
It's genetics and lots of stuff.
That's the good thing about anabolics is they definitely help level the playing field for us naturally smaller folks, you know?
Yeah. I was reading this thing about, I think I might've told you this last time too. Like there's something there's these cells that get created in your muscle. Even if you do steroids and never do them again, you've created these like cells that never go away that cause your muscle potential. So even if you did it once and then created those cells and then you were natural for the rest of your life, you still have a potential over other people that you didn't have before that.
I might be wrong, but I think it's hypoplasia instead of hypertrophy. It's hyperplasia, creation of new muscle cells, I believe you might be referring to.
Yeah, that might be it.
Which it's like then you have more muscle cells to get.
And those cells don't go away. You can they might shrink because
I think it's like fat cells. Like fat cells don't get more; they just get filled with more, nutrients and water.
I know. I wish they would just go away.
So I think with
that's how you can't get rid of those.
You get more muscle, cells. Might be wrong. It's not my realm.
We don't really know. We're just guessing.
And do the numbers thing.
We might be on drugs. We don't know.
Definitely on. I'm on.
Yeah, exactly. But oh man, drugs scare me though now, dude. Like anything white and powdery, definitely wouldn't do.
Don't mess with none of that stuff so much. Yeah.
No, I know you don't either. But it's like all these the fentanyl stuff creeps me out.
Yeah. Luckily, I never got into pills. I drink a lot, smoke a lot, take some psychedelics, but I luckily never went down
those seem to be more the healthier kind of like getting in touch with the universe type of drugs.
Psychedelics for sure.
Yeah.
I think that they help you. It's like I talked about with meditation and the separation from the body, the soul and the body. Psychedelics is a booster for that. And that's why people feel like they feel like an openness, an overwhelming peace, when they take psychedelics and all of this, enlightenment stuff. It's because, your body is getting closer to that universal soul knowledge, instead of stuck in this human realm.
The idea that we're all this one thing.
Which comes with, I think about that. If there's multiple dimensions, time isn't real, everything's all at once, then we are all one. It all lines up. So if you get psychedelics, you realize that, like, everything's already happened. It's good. Like, I've already lived my life. I'm just experiencing this time now. But, like, it's all happened. Everything was fine. I've lived 1,000 lives since then. It's all gone.
Well, so it's kind of like then when you see somebody pass away, it's like you always, at least for me,
they say the same thing about near-death experiences. It's a very similar. Is that what you were about to say? I'm
sorry.
Well,
no. You're totally good. I was. Yeah, it's kind of like when I've seen people pass away, there is like this. This is what makes me, because I do really like science and I like all that, but like for me, the idea that consciousness is just created from the physical body and then like once it goes out it's just like gone. It doesn't, to me it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't fully check out with me.
Which I understand a lot of scientists just believe like you're not here before you're born. It's just a process of like something that happens from this physical thing.
That's just from what we observe from a physical observation.
But
when you look at quantum mechanics and everything at a particle level, we know that brain chemistry thoughts are only possible with quantum mechanic interactions, which could be interdimensional by basis, which means we can't really comprehend or perceive it. So it's like for scientists to say that consciousness is only a physical manifestation, it's like you're saying things you can't even.
No.
Like, how can you describe another dimension to me?
Well, that's what those new science, like the new science is kind of going more that direction of like, this doesn't really add up, the physical stuff, Like,
it doesn't really add up, and there's things that, definitely seem, like you said before, that are a little more spooky than the real stuff that we've even thought of. Like,
and you listen to new science, it definitely, like I said, it makes things like God and ghosts and all these other things seem a lot more plausible.
It is all on the table. If you think that time isn't real and there's other dimensions, anything you can think of is possible. If you think of a multiverse as real, anything's possible. Anything at all.
Well, there's a lot of that. What is it, like the multiverse theory, right? Like or string theory and all that stuff.
Well, those are different theories. The multiverse is a theory of how the universe is configured.
Everything's happening all at once.
String theory is a theory of everything in terms of how they interact and gravity. It's different ideas. But there's a lot of ideas on the multiverse, and I think that the Avengers series, they did a really good job talking about when they went into other dimensions and the whole time frame thing with Infinity War. They did a really good job.
That was dope. That was such a good one.
They did a good job. And when they went to the dark realm, the dark dimension, and I was like, this is sick, because if there was other dimensions, there would be things that we wouldn't even recognize. Like, we wouldn't even perceive there would be weird creatures, things that might not even look like they're alive. You can't even describe it. And like, that's kind of what it looked like. There's weird objects floating that are weird shapes with colors, and like, I can't even describe what that might. Is it a building? Is it a ship?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think we would expect. It would be things that are.
It'd be so beyond our comprehension. Yeah.
It would be pretty nuts.
I love shit like that, dude. I think Marvel does a good job with all that stuff.
They did a good job. I haven't finished actually Multiverse of Madness, which is funny because I'm talking about that, but I haven't seen the ending.
No, what's that? Is that on Disney Plus?
I think it's on HBO Max.
HBO Max, okay.
I've been watching the series from front to end, like in chronological order, and I'm almost there.
Oh, it's fun to watch. I watched some anime and stuff like that recently. That's kind of different dimensional shit.
With tentacles and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's the porn I've been watching.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's like some weird stuff. The tentacle stuff. No, there's like this show called Bastard on Netflix. It's kind of weird because it's like, I don't know. It's just really funny, and like all the kingdoms are named after like heavy metal. So it's like the main kingdom is Metallicana, and then there's the Iron Maiden kingdom, and it's the one other one.
I assume it's a comedy.
It's a comedy. I mean, it's action and stuff too, but it's like everything. Like even like the way he interacts with all the females, like he's basically like a god, and all the girls love. It's like definitely geared towards younger males that have some kind of fantasy that like every chick is gonna want him, you know.
God.
And because Dark Schneider, he can beat anybody. But like all his spells are like, one of them's called Venom, one of them's called Megadeth. Like they have all these like band names. It's kind of dope.
It's cool.
I'm a nerd. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, bodybuild and watch anime.
Yeah, it's just like fun. It kind of like, I think like I was saying, like when you do get closer to a show, you kind of have to, your diet of what you intake is like, if I'm watching a bunch of comedy and lighthearted stuff and soft stuff, that can affect like, so it's like almost like you want to watch Rocky, Rambo, these like really like even Marvel stuff, like even though it's kind of like, okay, cliche, like hero worship stuff and it's kind of unrealistic, but like, do you want to be in that headspace if you're heading into like a show, or do you want to be in like a lovey-dovey, like, like, because I feel like you got to get your brain into a more hardcore place.
You got to prime it.
Yeah.
You got to prime it. You got to get it ready.
Right.
And you got to get motivated and inspired. So,
yeah.
Why not?
Whatever inspires you, dude.
Yeah. And when you see things like TV stuff, your brain has a really hard time separating like what's a TV show, what's real.
Oh,
so like you're watching this and you feel like you're you're really present in the movie, the show. You're watching like a glory, like a guy come up, kick ass, do well. Right. Your brain, like, that rubs off on you. You take that in.
It does.
It's very good.
We love underdog stories too.
I love underdog stories.
Like Rocky, and it's just like makes you feel like, well, because it's like the idea that it's kind of like what you said, like the idea that maybe you weren't the most gifted or genetically gifted or this, but you worked really fucking hard.
Hard work is the great equalizer, my friend.
Yeah.
I don't care about genetics, just I'll work harder than you.
I always loved when like Conor McGregor would say stuff like that, like talent is bullshit. I just out fucking worked you. It's like,
yeah. And the thing that I've noticed with people with talent or people that are just naturally good is they don't have that hunger. So many people I've lifted with that are just naturally really good, and they burn the fuck out because then they get to a point where their progress stalls and they don't know what it's like to work hard anymore. They never had to.
Yeah.
And I get that a lot. I do love it with the guys that were, I could tell that they were big in school, played football, were wrestlers, and I was 130 pounds when I graduated, and I started out lifting them, and you can see it get to them. And
like my wrestling promoter could talk to you about that because, being a guy that's booked all these, like, there's something that happens with natural talent where they don't necessarily go through the adversity necessary to have a strong character sometimes because they get so used to everything coming easy to them because they're really good.
Yeah.
And then something challenging comes up or something that they can't deal with just their straight talent. And they don't. So like the idea is if you have talent to like also nurture the hard work part.
That's more valuable than like
it's much. And sometimes it takes a long time to realize that.
It takes a long time. It comes with a lot of maturity is to learn to value hard work. But You talked about earlier about like your parents in that role. It's just something that we should instill in our children. And I think about that with when I have children, I'm going to not talk to them about how good they do, or so I'm just going to compliment on how hard they worked.
Right.
I think that's something that we were taught as we grew up, and your parents said, oh, good grades, good this, good. Oh, you got a B. They never cared about how hard you worked.
Yeah.
And I was somebody who was gifted, intelligent in school. Like growing up, I was good, so I didn't work hard. I didn't do the assignments. And my parents would always say, oh, you're so smart. You got so much potential. But they never told me I wasn't working. Like they never encouraged me to work hard. Of course,
I was like that in school too, dude. I just never did my homework, but I'd pass all my tests. So I'd just get by because it was like school's boring to me. And, like, I will say, like, in, like, music and certain things, like, if I would have worked harder at them, because some of it just came so natural to me, like, he's the guy, like, and even in wrestling in the beginning, which I did end up working way hard in that, because I did end up getting it, but it's, like, sometimes when it comes easier to you, or if you're bigger and taller than other people, like, even in wrestling, like, that already gave me a head, just being tall gave me, like, a, better than chance of other people, but, like, I do remember, like, as a kid, even though I would kind of, like, not try hard in school, a little bit of that, like, my parents would be a little disappointed about that kind of stuff. Like, I do remember, like, we'd get, like, hired for jobs or something. So my dad definitely instilled in me, like, I remember people going to my dad and saying, man, the other kids were fucking off the whole time, but, man, your son, he worked really hard. And, like, that always meant so much to my dad, just here. So we'd be, like, go pick rock. Or we'd, like, go help somebody, like, physically move, like, moving from house to house, like, furniture or whatever. And they'd pay us when we were kids. And, like, you'd have the guy say, like, oh, the other kids were really fucking around joking, but he worked really hard. Nice. And, like, so weird. My dad cared more about that than anything, which good. I think that was a good thing.
That's a very good thing. It just gets hard then in school because then you put kids into a flawed education system to learn things they might not want to, and then the hard work thing gets a little more complicated because you were a hard worker, but you put someone in school with there's so much to that, Well,
and like, what do they even teach you other than to basically like,
Well, they teach you based on a system that was designed back in society back then, first of all, which didn't have smartphones, didn't have this and that, so like the system is pretty outdated, and we're still rolling with it because now kids' brains are like totally just mush.
It's tough.
And it's a different learning experience now because we have kids that are on a dopamine fix. They have shorter attention spans because we're just feeding technology and marketing down their brain. And then it drives me crazy when older people will complain that kids spend too much time on their phones. And I'm like, but your generation made the marketing to make us look at TV. Like, this started back when TVs came out. Like, this started back when Coca-Cola ran ads. Like, you guys were, you know what I mean?
I know.
Like,
well, I mean, now this is a giant ad.
This is just marketing and technology to the extreme.
I can talk about something and see ads for it the next day.
But it all started way back then. But, like, they were completely fine with it at a small scale, which is like, oh, this color on this ad evokes an emotional response, dopamine, this and that. But then now it's out of control, and now it's our fault. The kids are fucking zombies. Kids. But I'm like, you made this and put it in our hands. Like,
I think you're right. We always get the millennials got a bad rap.
Millennials got a bad rap.
I think it's funny too how people like still call millennials young now. Like when older people are complaining about millennials, it's like you realize like most of us millennials are almost 40
it's
now.
Relative. We're always young to them.
Yeah, it's funny, dude. It's like you guys need to switch over to like Gen, what is it, Z or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Like start talking shit about them. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
They're the problem.
And I'm kind of with you. I always feel like millennials got a bad rap because I know a lot of people. I kind of get it at the same time. I understand what they meant, but also like they really created a lot of the problems.
Well, it's tough because millennials are really, it's that perfect storm of we're at that age where technology and advancement in society got to that point where it's now problematic for our brains. Right. So it's like, it's just, we got the rap because that's like in the 90s, that's when smartphones were like, people in the 90s started to get cell phones. And then when I was in middle school, some people had cell phones. So like this is the first generation that it was actually a problem for somebody to have this technology when they were going through developmental stages.
Right.
So now we're seeing the adverse effects because we didn't have studies on what cell phones do to a 17-year-old kid who uses it for fucking 6 hours a day. That technology didn't exist. So it's crazy because we'll have medications where they'll get studied for so long and then look back and be like, oh, we should sue these people because now we found out that it gives us effect. But what about this thing? What about the screen that's right in front of us that's caused people so much anxiety and depression, but we're just going to sweep it under the rug because it makes us money? It's so
true, dude.
Nuts.
It is wild.
So millennials were just at that age where like we started to get that technology, it's turned out not to be good for your thoughts.
Yeah, and that's why I always feel really lucky that I was from the generation right before, because when I was a kid, we still had to call our friend's home phone and say like, is Stevie there? So I feel like having a little bit of time in the world before this thing took over gives me a decent perspective of not taking it very serious, where I've talked to other people now, and I think it is harder now when you have like young people that this is the real world to them.
Yeah, they have.
So kind of like what we're saying, like looking through their story and like so and so didn't even look at my story. I'm a piece of shit. Like what you're saying earlier, like to me that like blows my mind. Like if someone didn't look at your story, like who cares? It's not even fucking real. You know what I mean? Like
they probably just click through everyone's anyways.
But this is so important to them. Like their avatar, like the self that they've created on here, to a level, I think, and they don't realize that none of it's real. Whereas like I was born before it, so like to me it's like it is what it is. It's this, you know, thing. But I know that it's not really real.
Yeah, and it's easy to see. We feel that way when you weren't in it.
Right, and then kids like get like pissed if you like take away their phone. But I'm also like, I can actually understand it at a level because like it's kind of like they always say we're cyborgs now, because like if you asked me before this technology, like what year did this movie come out and who was the director, I would be like, fuck, I have no idea. If I couldn't remember, and then we could get in an argument about like who's right, like no, and I know fucking Kubrick did. No, it was this year. And then well, now we're a cyborg because I have that at my fingertips. So I'm it's a supplemental part. So I'm not just Nick, I'm Nick plus all the knowledge that Nick can. So like I'm a cyborg. It's me and this. So now if you take that away from a kid, I can see why it feels like you've literally taken away part of who I am.
It's an extension of their senses.
Like I'm really good at finding football stats for this when I argue with my friends. That's like what I'm good at. That's my name's John. I'm really good at that. My friends are always asking. I'm like, bro, check it out. Oh no, you're wrong. Check this. Boom, boom. Got it. Oh, John's the best at that. He always can find that shit so fast. You know, you take that away, it's like, oh shit, like that's part of me.
It's part of their lifestyle.
So I kind of understand where like because they do these studies where like you take a phone from kids and they turn into like fucking monsters.
Well, I could see it. You know, I used to be like hardcore gamer and played a lot of World of Warcraft, and I would get fucking angry and when I would have to get off the computer. And if you think about it in an evolutionary standpoint and dopamine, if you think about all dopamine as, you know, evolutionary survival responses to rewards, you know, say, you know, you're getting that dopamine fix, you're getting your, you know,
from doing your missions,
or checking your phone every time you check your phone, like that's the equivalent of your brain getting like food and sex.
You're taking away my dopamine.
And then the kid gets that over and over again because you let them have it all day. They're an addict. They're essentially, it's the same thing as being addicted to. It's like if I were to change this metaphor and say instead of your kid being addicted to playing the computer, they're addicted to drugs, you think about this very differently. Even though on a chemical level, like it's kind of the similar idea. I mean, there's more to it with alcohol, but it's a reward system, and then you take it from the kid, and of course they get angry. You're taking away their drug. It's just because you think the phone is stupid doesn't mean that they don't have an actual.
It's almost like they would have to detox.
You do. It's a dopamine detoxing, and you know, all these. It's a real thing. It's just tough because you get generations that didn't have to experience that, and they just don't think it's real because they don't feel it. And it's a very obtuse way to look at things. Be like, oh, well, this is silly. And not try to understand it. And then you put those people in charge of our government, and that's what's going on.
Oh, my God. Yeah, because they have no idea.
Dude, that thought process you had about the story thing, I bet you that fucking Joe Biden had never thought that in his entire life, yet he's making rules about millions of people that do. Like, you're so out of touch.
How could, I mean, like, no offense to that dude, but I don't think he could grasp a concept like that at his age.
I do not think that anybody that's been picked recently has been a good pick.
No,
all the politicians they're all this whole system is just fucking crooked, and
it's just they're all so old, and it's like, come on,
they're so old and so rich. That's two metrics that put them so out of touch with the majority.
They're just out of touch.
You have no reason to be in control of somebody that you have not lived even like. I don't know why it's. I think it's so obvious that I don't know why the system's in place other than it's crooked and people. It's only that way because they're rich and they're powerful and they can do whatever they want, but.
Well, that's what I don't like about it. It's like it's supposed to be this system that represents the people.
Yeah, so much.
And so even if we elect certain people, which I don't even know how much of that we really have much control over, because it's usually like the DNC or the RNC and who they pick for us. You know, everybody wanted Bernie that time.
Electoral college.
They didn't. I mean. Clearly, that was a year where like I saw everybody so behind Bernie Sanders, but then he didn't get picked. It was like it made zero sense.
Well, the winner isn't about who's the best candidate at all.
No, that's what I mean. So like all these people are in place that are picking these things for us. So like, and that's the only thing we have over. Then you have like all the other parts of the government, which are like not the politicians we picked, but like the people that are in there for like long-term things like CIA and all these other things, like we don't choose any of them. And they're kind of the ones that actually kind of run the politicians in a sense.
Well, you know who they were picked by? The politician. You know,
well, and
like-
they were probably picked by people with lots of money that like
Yeah.
companies that had, so it's like, it's so corrupt that it's so far away from actually representing regular, like I said, bottom of the pyramid people.
It's very upsetting.
For me, I end up just like getting so disenfranchised with it that I just cannot care about it.
That's why I don't really follow the politics much. I'll talk about it here and there, but I'm not really informed. I'll be honest. I
try to
an
stay
ignorant
somewhat
opinion,
informed, but it's like, to me, it's like watching pro wrestling.
I don't much because I don't like. There's nothing that I'm gonna. There's no one. I think I could do something if I wanted to, but I'm not going to go through the effort of making political changes.
Well,
so I just would rather be ignorant to it. Like,
Right,
so
and at the level that we exist in the world, like it's very hard to make any kind of change unless you have enough power to make the change, which is like why giant corporations can make changes happen, because they have all this influence and power.
It's because they have money, and money is our metric of power in society.
And they can be, now they're considered people, like corporations are people, so they can donate money. It's like you can't, it's weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, just to avoid taxes so they can get more money to keep to themselves. And
it's really all weird, man. It's so weird how much. So I just try to focus on what I can do for my life to make it better.
Me too.
Because I know that that's just another thing that's going to give me anxiety.
Yeah, this is something we can control, and you can have a meaningful life that still has an impact.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's certain things you definitely want to stand up for that mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
Certain like social rights for certain people. I'm definitely like,
absolutely.
If there's any kind of stuff like that, equality for people, gay marriage, stuff like that, I'm super like, we need like women's rights, stuff like that. I will, that kind of stuff, I definitely stand firmly like, but it's like, I mean, how much power do I have to help change it? I don't know. But yeah, there's certain things you really feel strongly
We don't
about.
have much, and the tough part is unfortunately, have you ever seen the movie A Bug's Life?
A long time ago.
There's a scene that I fucking love where there was the crickets, and they were at the bar talking, and I think Hopper was the name, the boss cricket. He was giving a speech, and he talked about how all of the peons, one by one, aren't much. And he was using a metaphor where he was dropping seeds.
Yeah.
And he threw a few at him, and he's like, "Oh, you guys, this ain't so much, huh?" And then he says, "Well, what about this?" And he breaks the thing open, and they all flood, and they knock everybody over. And they say that all the ants together are more than us. So then the ants, spoiler alert, the ants rallied up and fought against the crickets, and there was just so many more of them that they won.
Yeah,
and
that's such a metaphor in society.
I think about that all the time with here is our only voice, unfortunately, is violence. I'm not supporting FBIs if you're listening. I'm not, but I think about
He's not telling people to go pull a January 6th.
With all the riots and stuff that are going on, is people are asking the wrong questions. People say, well, rioting isn't the answer. Well, it's not, we're not going to get what you want by breaking things. That's not, you should be wondering why the civilians, the population, think the only way to make change is by breaking shit.
Right.
It's not about burning stuff down. It's about getting the government to listen to us. And the only way they'll listen is if we start destroying things.
Right, and I have some sympathy for those people, because you think about how powerless they must have had to feel
to go through
to get to a level where they feel it's okay to do that.
Like, why is our society getting so angry that they're killing each other over how angry they are over the decisions? Like the Black Lives Matter stuff. People say that's not the way to get your movement passed. Well, yeah, it is, because we don't have money to make we're not in control. The only way to get control is to fucking take it.
Right, I know, and it's sad because
they're not going to give it to us.
If they don't change something and it keeps getting that skewed out, like the power keeps getting skewed that out of control, like eventually I feel like things like that are going to happen.
That's the scary part. It's that wage gap, the separation between the top level and the bottom. It's a scary thing, especially when you think about technology now and guns.
Yeah.
If we don't have guns, they have tanks. Like, there's nothing we can do to stop them.
No.
So, I mean, I know gun control. I'm not going to voice my opinion on it. I'm not going to get in that on the internet here. But, the idea of us not having a weapon, we're defenseless.
That scares me, yeah.
So, because technology is getting so good, that they can do anything they want if they want to.
It's almost like they already kind of can.
They already can. They just won't, because they know that there's going to be problems, if the government just started,
I think just at the end of the day, what we find is that they just have way too much power.
I think so too.
Way too much power.
And I feel like
way too much And there's way too much influence over them by giant corporations that have tons of money.
Oh yeah, it's because money is it's our metric of power as humans. You can say what you want, but enough money can get you anything. If you, I don't care.
Yeah.
If you gave me X amount of money, I would probably do anything you could think of. Like, and anybody really would, because it's a metric of how things you can get.
That's
done.
funny because like I was talking to my wrestling promoter and he had that point like about he's like it's actually amazing like. What he's not trying to like defend billionaires and stuff, but he's like, if I had $1 billion, I would never do anything again. He's like, so just the fact that like some of them keep like actually working and doing
thing is,
things.
because that attitude is why he's not a billionaire.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean.
Why.
Well, yeah, because it's we've talked about that on here too. That there's a certain, there's certain behaviors that actually cause you to make more money, and if you can figure out those behaviors, you'll probably be more successful.
Yeah,
which you're right. That's exactly why he's not a billionaire. He would never become. But then, because he was talking about this other dude that I can't remember the dude's name, but he's one of those guys that like was in the tech industry, became a billionaire, and then he kind of retired, but like Bill Gates will still call him up sometimes to like fix problems, and so he still has everything, but he's just like, now that I have $1 billion, I'm good. I don't really want to keep working, but he's still like he'll still work once in a while, and so that was kind of who he was talking about. Yeah. He's like, I'd be like that guy. Relax. Yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna enjoy it. But yeah, it's weird. So like, I mean, clearly you look at dudes that are billionaires, like some of it's kind of unhealthy, like their obsession, like for power, like. Yeah, but it's also kind of what drives them. Like we were talking on here the other day about ego, and like we were talking about Shawn Michaels, and he's like how he had such a bad ego and stuff. And he's like, and now he's a calmer guy, and he just seems to be a better guy. But like he was saying, like I don't necessarily know that I would have reached the heights if I wasn't that dickhead that I used to be. Like part of it actually went hand in hand.
Every successful person is a little narcissistic, especially men. By default, it's evolution. Like we're animals. We're not much better.
Built in.
It's built in. I'm sorry. So at some point you have to consider you can't achieve anything unless you believe you can, and you have to have some sort of self-worth to think you can believe anything. If you're not confident at all, you don't believe it, so it's not going to
I'd say you almost have to be a little bit delusional.
There has to be a tolerance. Yeah,
a slight little bit. Too much makes you just a douchebag.
Yeah, delusional, absolutely. I mean, to you, it's not delusional because you know that you're going to follow through, but to everyone else, so it's all the perspective of it. You know? I think about that with like, making decisions to change your life. To other people on the other perspective, it could be delusional, it could be not real or whatever. But if I were to say, I'm going to quit alcohol right now, I'm recovered, I'm done. Like that's it. Obviously you have to follow through and everything like that.
You still have to put in the work, but it's the intention. But then you're right, because sometimes it's like those people are dangerous. The ones that are saying, "Well, you'll never do that," because they're just going to keep you where you are. So you never want to believe those people. Like, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to change my life, and they'll look at you and like, yeah, right, whatever.
If there's something you're trying to do to better yourself, and anybody at all, family,
don't listen to those people.
Your sibling, your partner, walk the fuck out.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that, because talking about like your thoughts and the things that you say about your body, the things you hear are pretty. So if you were to tell me every day you saw me that I'm a loser,
you're a piece of shit.
Well, every single day I got a data point that says I'm a piece of shit. Your brain doesn't know. It doesn't differ. It just heard I got a data point. Zach's a piece of shit. It adds up. So people that have negative thoughts and negative, even if you just got a friend that's a little bit of a moper, stay the fuck away, because now you're more likely to think things are just.
It is funny because like you have to eventually kind of stay away from those people.
It's hard,
even if you love them.
It's something I've been doing lately, and I did that a lot when I moved here, because I moved here from Connecticut, to get rid of a lot of that, because I was like, I got a lot of friends that like I got along with you.
See, you had to recreate yourself here, dude.
I did, and it was best to just cut a lot of that off and just come over here. I do miss my family. I get along well with my family, but it was nice to get rid of a lot of those friendships that, like, you're not bad people, I love you and all, but you just had a perspective that was not conducive to my goals. It's not good or bad. You're great, but it was just not where I'm trying to go.
Well, I love my family so much too, but I definitely operate at a higher level when I'm away from them.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with their lifestyle, but like it's a different lifestyle than I want.
It's a different lifestyle.
And when I'm around it, it can kind of drag me down. Not that there's anything wrong with it. No, and then when I'm away from it, I'm this confident like
there's a lot of science behind it, because a lot of behaviors we learn by associating things with one thing. So if you growing up and you were around your family and you were just lazy, well, you see them, your brain says, "Oh, I'm around this person, I'm more likely to be lazy," because that's just what we do.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do.
That's what you do.
We chill, we eat a lot.
There is 100% scientific based, like situational, like where you are and who you're with, like your behaviors can change because of
who you're around.
Doing. So
100%.
You know, that's something to think of. If you got friends that are used to being lazy and used to be lazy with them, well, you're more likely to be lazy when you're with them because you just have done it before.
You want to get away from them and get around high performing people.
And that's the easiest way is to just cut off a lot of these ties. You know, I've ghosted a lot of people. I'm sorry, but you might just be a little too negative. You know,
right. It's a big thing, man. It's a big thing. Well, now the other thing is too, moving away from my hometown, and like it actually makes me appreciate my family and love them more.
Yeah.
And like even appreciate my hometown more. You know, because when I was young, I was always like, I want to get the fuck out of here. I hate this place. And then now I've actually, you know, you move out to a different area, you start appreciating the things about your hometown.
Absolutely.
About your family and kind of, you know, I don't know, it just changes your perspective.
It does. You got to be out of it to see it for what it really is.
Yeah. So I think it's a healthy thing for me.
Yeah, I think everybody should move away from the state that
at least once. At least for like a few months or something.
I'd say for a few years at least. Especially with the stuff we talked about, is you've got a lot of behaviors that are just associated with the place that you used to be.
Where you are, yeah.
So if you want to get rid of some old habits, then change your setting.
Yep. Well, it's funny because even like little town I was born in, even just moving like 20 minutes away to this other town that was a college town and had different perspective, more diversity of people. That was cool. That was like a first step that got me to move here. And so even just moving there like changed my perspective.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. It could be just a different neighborhood, you know, really.
That's all. I mean, really,
to work in the morning.
Just get different people that you met in the same town, right?
Like wake up on a different side of the bed, and you know that changes your routine up. And then you're ready to continue to make other changes because now it's different. So you know, if you just wake up and do something different, you're ready to do other things that are different. You know?
I'm like fascinated by the idea that we can. So this is kind of back to that free will thing. So the idea that we know all those things you just said, and then not only do we know them, we can actually design. Now we can design our life the way that we want it to be, in a sense. I mean, it's not always easy. But like, once you kind of know all those different things and how programmable we are, you can kind of design your path.
Anything you want to do is possible when you just kind of have basic knowledge of how the brain works. You know? Yeah, you can do.
And it's all science.
It's all science. It is. Then there's the the unscience element of like human input and choice. You know, like there is that override. Like I can. You know, like let's say I'm more likely to drive to work this one day, like a habit, a behavior, or something I've learned. I can one day just not do it, and that's where it gets spicy. You know.
Well, I like to do that, like take a different way home sometimes, and I'm like, what if I just change the entire? I will think that sometimes I'm like, what if I change the entire path of my life just from taking this different way?
The butterfly effect. It's a true thing. You know, something that little like, because what if you went down that turn and you got T-boned and you fucking died? You know, like.
Or have you ever like shaken an 8-ball hoping for an answer? And you didn't get the answer, and you're like, just pretend it didn't happen, dude. Oh, I got the answer.
All the time. I flip a coin for a lot of things on the phone and be like, oh, okay, well, heads or tails, and I'll be like, 2 out of 3.
It's like, I didn't quite get the one. Because then you actually know what you actually wanted.
That's a good point.
You kind of don't until...
That's I heard somebody say that, be like, flip the coin and then wait till you think of what you're hoping for while it's in midair. And then you have your answer.
Now you know what's the real answer you wanted.
I forgot about that. I'm going to try that next time because I did flip the coin recently and I did that and I should have
That's actually really cool because you kind of always know what you actually want.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's that anxiety of the choice paralysis that gets people...
I saw a really good post about that analysis paralysis recently. And how, like, especially in training and lifting and stuff, like, you can really fuck yourself up.
I get that a lot in powerlifting. I'm not sure if it's a big thing in bodybuilding, but, you know, we're so focused on fine-tuning technique on just, a few things that people obsess over details. And I get that a lot where set by set someone will come up to me like, oh, what about this? And I'm like, this takes months to fix. Like, get the fuck away from me. You don't need to ask me every set. Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
You don't go up to me between reps and say, is my bicep bigger? Like, get the fuck away from me. Like,
it's just too much. Too much thinking.
You're thinking of way too many details. It takes a long time to unlearn things, especially when you're thinking a movement pattern like the squat. Say you've done 1,000 reps this year,
right? And
I'm teaching you a new cue. You have to do 1,001 that way.
You have to beat the old. Yeah. They say that when a quarterback changes his throw, dude, thousands of throws to change it.
And that's just how the brain works. Like it's not a debate. Like your brain is just better at things you do more. Like it makes sense. So
think about that, like a guitar lick where you fuck up this one spot. You have to do it right. How many times before you wipe that out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and your brain just memorizes that shit without you even thinking about it. You just start playing, and you're like, I know how to play guitar, but like I can't really say what I'm doing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But dude, it's wild now. So like we need to start a band of bodybuilders.
Band of bodybuilders.
Because I got my buddy Frankie who used to play.
What's he play?
He plays guitar and sings. I believe their band was kind of. I think he said that his biggest influence was Sublime. So they were kind of like that cool, like, you know, I love Sublime. They were the shit. And then, you know, you got that fucking crazy, like, metal shit.
I got the screams. I could do drums if I had to, but...
And then there's, like I said, that big freaking Neil from the Hop. I don't even know how to describe his music because he kind of, like, has this high voice when he sings, which is weird, like, pretty voice. And then, but he also does other, like, I don't know, and some of it was more acoustic, but, like, yeah, it's weird how many bodybuilders are actually talented musicians, too.
Makes sense. You know, people attracted to the arts are generally... mentally troubled, and those people like to lift weights.
Totally fucked up, and then they find out that weightlifting kind of fixes it in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, lifting weights is a very simple way to practice discipline. It's the most straightforward thing I could think of. You just pick something up regularly.
It's the cure, dude.
You know, and then that gets... because that's that dopamine, that's the detox is discipline, is because you're forcing yourself to abstain from that in a way to progress, and it helps build up the mind.
And I even find that too, like you have to have discipline to like take rest days and stuff like that, like because that's hard for me.
So, sometimes it's the hardest work is to stay away, you know, from the gym and abstain and rest.
Right, like today I did cardio. I'm more excited about tomorrow because it's a lift day again. You know what I mean? It's so weird how I like, well, at least but I ate correct today. I ate all my...
It's tough because sometimes, like, you have to rest, especially in a strength sport.
You have
like,
to.
Our rest is, like, if you lift big, like, you just can't lift big again for a certain amount, generally.
Oh, especially in your sport because your nervous system has to recover.
Yeah, and, like, some lifts, you know, will hit you more than others. And, like,
if you fry your nervous system, dude, it takes a while to...
Yeah, I think once or twice a year I hit it really hard, and I don't know if it's related, but, you know, like I had a squat session 2 or 3 weeks ago where I was pretty sick for like 2 days after. Like I felt fucking terrible. CNS is just so fried. Like, yeah, I always think about an evolutionary standpoint. If you're squatting max effort, your brain thinks you're like fighting a bear. Like it thinks you're about to fucking die. It's sending everything it can out. Your body is sending out every nutrient it's got. Like,
so if you fought a bear in real life and survived, you would probably be like resting for a couple days after that.
Probably a couple months. You might be in a coma.
True. Yeah,
your organs are out of your body. Yeah,
unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio.
He cannot fight a bear.
Like yeah,
he can do anything.
He can do anything
except swim off the.
Oh, except for like lay on a fucking piece of wood next to his girlfriend. She wouldn't even scoot over.
Totally would have fit.
That was bullshit, dude.
That was bullshit.
I've never forgiven her, honestly.
I did cry the first time I saw it. It was sad though. I will say
it's a good movie.
It's okay.
But I'm kind of like, why didn't she just scoot over? I think everybody always thinks that.
It might have just tipped. You don't know.
I mean, maybe they would have both died. Maybe we don't know. Maybe there's something we don't know.
It might not have been worth the gamble.
I think Leo should have survived and pushed her off, though.
He should have just found another raft from someone to tip them over. Like,
it's like survival of the fittest. Like, go find one of those douchey guys, like the bad guy in the movie.
Yeah, find
somebody that like one of his cronies that were like pieces of shit anyway. That were like they'd rather have kids die than them. Go find them, steal their board,
go find them,
and then go chill out with her.
I remember the scene when the boat was like tipped over, and like it still kind of scares me. Because like open ocean is scary, but I just imagine like being in like somebody in the water underneath and looking up. And seeing that thing, it's the most. I can't think of more scary things.
And that happened for real.
It did, and you heard that sound it made, like the. I'm like, I would just have a heart attack in the water. Like I wouldn't have.
Creepy.
I would have just died right there out of fear. Like that's so scary.
Right. That ice bath would have been good for you for a few seconds, though.
It would have just put me in shock.
Yeah.
So quick, and I just go under.
I do think that's creepy. Like I always loved the way I thought it was so powerful. Like the way the band just played out until the very end.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, we know we're going to die, but we've done this thing and we're good at it. And, like, you know what? We're going to go down doing that way. There's something, like, noble about that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
That was always, and it was weird watching them because, like, playing, and it showed them, like, playing until they started, like, basically falling and shit. And then they, creepy. That's creepy.
That's what I would do, lifting weights.
Just be in the gym and
just go out as the world falls apart and
just doing deadlifts and
just max out. If you're gonna die tomorrow, I'll be like, I'm maxing out my lifts. Like, let's see what we got.
Yeah, screw it. One more time, one more battle with the demons before I, you know.
But then you're like in the off season, you're not anywhere close to lifting a PR, and it's like shit.
Dude, you know what other movie I saw that I really liked was that had Leo in it when he was a kid was. Do you remember that movie, The Quick and the Dead? It was like this like kind of cheesy Western from like 1995-ish, I believe.
I was 2 years old.
And it was like Sharon Stone played like this badass cowgirl. And like she comes into town, nobody knows who she is, you know, and like Russell Crowe is in it. He's like a preacher, but he used to be a bad guy. And Gene Hackman plays like the big bad guy. and it's basically like a tournament of, fucking draw like at high noon. And it's like they're waiting, and then it's like the clock like ticks, and it's like just fucking, and it's like, I don't know, it's pretty exciting because it's like, and so like Russell Crowe's like really good at fighting, but he like doesn't want to fight because he's become a preacher, but his instincts, he doesn't want to die, and like he tells Sharon Stone like, the clock is it makes a click right before it turns, so he's like, listen for the click, and so and it turns out like, Gene Hackman like killed her dad or something, and like she finally comes back for revenge. But he's such a good bad guy in that movie, Damn. And Leonardo DiCaprio plays his son, who's super good, But it's like he ends up like fighting his own dad, and it's like, how would you fight your own son, you piece of shit?
That's rough. I would just be like, just fumble the gun and let him shoot me.
So Gene Hackman is just like the perfect bad guy in that movie. Like, so despicable. You just can't wait to see him get, So when Sharon Stone like fucking, he's like you're not fast enough, and she's like, today I am. Some shit like that. Just like really cheesy. It's a good flick though. It's on Netflix if you like old westerns, but it has like Baby Leo in it.
Baby Leo, 94.
Like he's like a teen, He's like in love with Sharon Stone, even though he's younger than her. It's pretty funny, like But yeah, he's spinning guns and shit. It's a good flick.
I went to a gun range a couple weeks ago with a buddy in Angelica, and we shot some guns.
How'd that go?
It was good. I've been before. I've taken an NRA class. I just never got the permit. I just didn't want to. I just didn't go through with it.
Right.
But she wanted to learn just to be more comfortable.
It's a good thing. Like, if you're scared of something, why not get like comfortable with it? So like, I mean, honestly,
I wanted to just not pick it up and fumble. Like I want to know what it does.
Or if somebody ever had a gun around you, like at least you like know basically how it works.
Yeah. Not
if you got it away from them or something, like who knows?
Yeah. But it was good. I was a decent shot. She was better.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected.
Hey, that's all right.
That's all right. I lift the weights.
Yeah.
If there was an apocalypse stuff, I wouldn't be the gunman. I don't think that's not my skill set.
You'd be like, hey, we need to get this like heavy thing off something. Let's move it.
I like to think that I would be some sort of diplomat, like maybe a leader of sorts. I don't know, toot my own horn, but or an ambassador
as a coach.
I would like to be some form of that. I think that would be.
I always wondered, like, have you seen that new series Last of Us?
No.
Based on the video game?
Never played the game either.
Oh, see, I played the game, and it's like one of the coolest games ever. Another dopamine kick, just like getting lost in that world. But like one of the coolest games I've seen because it's like watching a movie. And now they have a new series based on it, and it's really good. But it kind of makes you think of that, like what, if shit, because it's like beginning of the show, it's normal life like right now. But there's this fungal thing. So the way they do the zombies in that is a fungal infection. And the fungus takes over. It causes people to become zombies. And as they progress, like their face becomes even more fungus, and they eventually become these things called clickers. And they can like use sonar basically by clicking, and then they're really scary by that point because they keep evolving in their. So it starts out as like I don't know what the first level of it is called, and then they can run, and then eventually they're these clickers, and once they're the clicker, they're horrifying.
Yeah, that's scary.
But it makes you think like, holy shit, because like in that show, first episode shows how fast society crumbles because of this one thing, and it's like makes you think like, what would it be like? What would happen?
I think about that often.
So you're like thinking like, what would I be? I wouldn't be the gunman.
That's why I knew right away. I was like, I kind of think I got a little plan. I think one of the best things any of us could do to prepare for this is learn how to either make alcohol or grow weed. You would be invaluable in that society.
Yeah, you'd be very.
Nobody would kill you. Everybody would want you on their team.
Yeah, that's funny.
What else is there to do in this world? People are going to be drinking.
Dude, all these beer makers would like from around here because beer is huge here. They would be so valuable.
They're going to be robbing breweries and alcohol stores. It's going to be crazy.
Well, that's basic chemistry, so they probably would have a lot of skills necessary to like not die.
Yeah, they got to be helpful somehow for some medications. I guess.
Medications, who knows? There's probably a lot of stuff, dude. It almost makes you realize, like, what good would I be, dude? I'd just be like I don't even know.
Hey, you're a tall guy. You'd be a scrapper.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could do some of the manly strength stuff that they needed done. I'd have I'm big,
wrestle.
Big enough dude. Yeah, I probably could do okay with stuff. It makes you wonder, like, because it's like, okay, like, what, like when I was a musician, it's like, what are you going to do, sing? I guess that's kind of valuable. I don't know how valuable it is if it's like, what do you do, podcast? Like, what are you going to do in the future when it's hey, we're gonna get together and talk today. You know, like that's not.
You could find a battery and get a microphone and record some stuff. Maybe that would be your claim to fame. Is
right
when society comes back, they dig out your old scriptures.
Yeah, just
from
to
the
see what
days.
society was like.
It'll
back
be like
then.
the new Bible or something. It'll be like your podcast tales of the dark days. Like
I feel like we'd all have to find our value. You know, if
and
that
have to
happened.
adapt somehow.
Like probably farming. Like who knows what you might be good at if you
You
actually
definitely
had.
need to farm.
Right.
You know, food. We're not gonna have stores anymore.
I feel like some people would surprise people.
Yeah, a lot of people's skills would
You know,
come
like
out.
the people that you think maybe would not be valuable might end up being the
You know,
ones
the tough
like.
part, it's those guys that are in prison that we want to let out, and those are the dudes we want fighting those zombies.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
man.
the kind of guys that are a little scary are the guys you want.
You'd actually need those. You'd need those high risk taker type people.
That's another good movie idea. Zombie apocalypse. They let the prisoners out to go kill them all.
Because they're the only ones that are like wild and
Yeah,
crazy.
they'd be like,
enough.
we don't got the skills, and like you guys are in prison anyways. All the lifers, we're just gonna
Right.
send you out. We're gonna keep track of you, so you can't like go around and do whatever you want, but you're gonna fight zombies.
It's
It's
right,
It's
it's
like
like-
Death Race. You seen that movie?
Actually,
Where they
yeah,
had them raced to the death.
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like
a good
Gladiator
flick.
equivalent. Just have them fight the zombies.
that would be a
pretty
good.
cool.
That'd actually be a great movie, dude.
I would watch it.
Yeah, I think who would we cast in that? That'd be great. Dude, they're remaking Roadhouse too. Did you see that?
I don't even know what Roadhouse is.
You've never seen Roadhouse,
I'm
dude?
younger than you, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're a lot younger actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm turning
Shit.
30 in May.
Yeah.
I'm
Damn,
turning
dude.
30, and May 14th, my birthday. The day before, it's the meet that I'm doing, actually.
Dude, that's dope. Are you? How do you feel about the 30s?
I was, I had my midlife crisis when I was a couple.
You had it a long time ago, so you have your shit together now. So the 30s probably seem fine.
I
to
think
you.
30s is going to be my stride.
It will.
I'm getting better with age. I'm slowly becoming less of an asshole, and I'm learning more and more about myself and how to be myself. And you know, it's only going to get better, and it's definitely not getting worse.
I've seen
I
so
would
many
say.
more people like actually their prime is like their 30s
I think that's what
and
it is.
40s. 20s, you just don't know what the fuck you're
You
doing.
don't know what you're doing, and then with society and the technology stuff, it's your 20s are just wasted by being a puddle of useless mush anyway. So
Also, aren't you kind of glad you didn't like peak in your 20s, dude? Like you have a lot of shit to still do.
dude, when I was growing up, I was so angry at those guys that were that guy, and then
Yeah,
they
now look at
peaked,
them.
and now they're nothing, and you know.
I have this friend who's always pissed off about like, oh, so and so does this or so. I'm like, dude, just wait. I'm like, you just wait. You're on a good path in life. Someday you're gonna look back, and those people that are giving you all this shit are gonna be fucking losers.
Yep.
And you're gonna be doing good, and you're gonna be like, why did I ever care what those fucking people thought?
Yep.
You know, just like you keep doing you and focus on what you can control. And I guarantee if those people are assholes, like you're telling me they are, saying the stuff they're saying, they're probably not going to do that great in life. And someday you're going to look back, they're going to be like old, alcoholic, fat, washed up, hate their wife. Like, don't sweat it. You know, it's not going to, their life's not going to be great. And yours is probably going to be great. So just chill out.
Yep.
Stick it out. You'll be fine.
And you should thank them because they're the ones that gave you that push. You know.
Right. That power. Like
Sometimes
that.
the best influences are with the people you don't like.
It's kind of like that kid, that Seth, that he lost all that weight. He was like, you know, he's like, I'm not saying bullying is good, but he's like, honestly, it kind of worked in a sense.
Yeah.
Like he was like, it pushed me because I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be better. I wanted to eliminate the possibility for them to bully me by becoming a better version of me. So like, and he said once he did, he got people's respect, and it's like, well, of course you did, because you worked really fucking hard.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not saying bullying's good, but you know, in that sense, it's like sometimes pain. It's kind of what you posted, I think, recently, something about pain.
Pain is power, baby.
Yeah. So we hate it while it's happening, but almost you get to a certain age, you look back at pain, and you're so thankful for it.
Absolutely.
I'm so thankful for it at times.
Pain is related to uncomfortability, which is related to the overcoming of your primal responses, dopamine.
Yeah.
So the amount of pain and uncomfortability you have is proportional to the amount of like growth that you have. You know, pain. When people say like no pain, no gain, and it's that idea is like no discomfort, no stimulus, no. It's all the same thing.
There's no growth in comfort.
You know, like even the cell phone analogy, like you not looking at the phone when you feel a temptation, that's pain, that's gain. You know what I mean? Like that's growth, that's uncomfortability. You know,
No
So-
fap. No fap
is-
again.
It's pain. Any uncomfortability is pain,
Yeah.
and any uncomfortability has a growth because you're adapting to it.
Shit, even like cold water bath or whatever, a cold shower. They
I
suck,
actually, I
but they're...
posted something about that for that because it's exactly. You go on. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Tell me. I want to hear about it.
I was gonna say is with if we wake up in the morning, you take a hot or an ice cold bath, it's great for waking you up because it's a stress response. Your body thinks that there's danger. You're more likely to be alert. And it's an overcoming of like, oh, I'm in pain and I'm going to override that. And it's a very good exercise. Of,
that
well,
it's like you get up and you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want to get up. And you're like all tired and you feel like a piece of shit. You get in that cold shower and you're just like fucking...
Yeah.
All right, now you're like exhilarated. You're like, okay, my body's... It's like wakes your body up.
That's your soul telling your body, like, I'm in charge and I don't care if it's uncomfortable. Like, that's why there's some military guy that gave a speech about making your bed in the morning. And it's the same thing. It's like if you wake up and the first thing you do is tell your body that I'm in charge by making the bed because you don't want to make the bed, then you're more likely to keep doing that.
Right. It's like my room is not very... I mean, it's kind of messy right now, but it's like I've worked on... Like, so my bed's made. I make my bed every day. And, like, I want to even get better at that stuff, dude. Like, I want it to be, like, like, you're more OCD, you said. Like, I'm definitely not.
I'm getting more in a routine.
But when I get my space around me taken care of and clean and organized, I feel so much better. And I'm, like, kind of a creative type at heart, so, like, I can tend to let it get a little out of hand. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be like really, like when you're more of a creative. Sometimes, like I think having discipline is the best thing for me because of that.
Yeah.
I was listening to it was Andrew Huberman podcast with Jocko Willink on there.
I love it.
And he was saying that he's actually more of kind of an erratic creative type, but the discipline is what gives him freedom. So that's why he's known as this guy that's super disciplined, right? But he said at his heart, he's actually this like kind of like open mind. And he was actually talking about how like in battle, he's like kind of, this goes to your point about having to get the inmates out of the prison. He's like, it's weird because in battle, certain people that actually like love being in the military because they love discipline and they love everything being this way. He's like, sometimes they end up the worst people because like when shit gets crazy and you have to play jazz, they can't handle it because they actually like the normalcy of repetitive things. And he's like, sometimes these people that are kind of fuck up sometimes, or they're more like, because they're more open-minded, so they have a harder time with the discipline stuff. But he's like, in actual battle, sometimes they're the best people because they can handle shit like changing like that and like coming up with something really fast. I don't know. He had a really unique perspective about it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think that would be like the people in prison and shit, dude. Some of them, like, they're probably the most high risk takers. They're most erratic.
Yeah.
If there was a zombie apocalypse, you'd want them because they'd be the one that would go like jump in front of a bullet because it's like they act without thinking.
They go in and scrap, and they might have a violent history anyways, I guess. So I guess that would help.
Right.
If we're gonna get some zombies, I would want the people that have used weapons.
The problem is, how would you control them? They might just turn on you.
That's the problem.
You'd have to have a way to control them.
We could put a chip in them that'll like make them explode if they get out of the city or something.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's fucking that's devious.
That's the
dude.
COVID vaccine in your shoulder.
Oh my god! Yeah, I already got those chips. They put it in me, dude.
Yeah, and the booster to increase.
I will not say anything against the government.
Yes, I'm sorry, Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is totally great. I love him. He's okay. He's just old as fuck.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He is. I'm just sad that every year that like this is the only options we get. Like I know plenty of people that I think might do a better job. It might be an ignorant thing to say because I don't know much about politics, but I just don't think we should have that. Like these should not be these are the best guys we got. Like this is the best picks. Like I don't care what party you're on. Like, the whole top 5 candidates, every one of them. I'm like, this is what we got. And it's just tough because you'll walk around and you'll talk to your friends and like, we'll all say common things like we think it's all fucked, but for some reason we still can't make a difference. Like
that is kind of the general consensus is like everybody's like, well, it's all fucked, but whatever,
It's because we don't got money.
Because we don't have money or power.
But Bug's Life, we have people. We have more. Yeah. There's way more of us.
We're just
the
ants,
money,
dude.
But there's way more than us.
We're just the fucking ants, bro.
And back to hard work and power is the people that are on the bottom are the hungry ones.
Yeah, that's true.
The saying, the wolf on top of the hill is never as hungry as the wolf climbing. So that's the advantage we got too. Is we've been down here on the bottom starving while they've been eating.
That's a good question. How do you suggest to people to stay hungry as you achieve things? Because you're right. I think it definitely gets harder.
You have to feed your hunger. You have to practice being.
You have to stay hungry.
And it's a technique because, you have to have that drive. And what I would say is, one, like we said before, is remind yourself of what's bigger than you that you're doing this for. You know, that's how you stay hungry. And then, you know, things like remind yourself how far you've come.
Yeah,
and
that's huge.
these things are we just put the situation in perspective to remind you to stay hungry. Because when people don't get hungry and they get complacent with a task, it's because they're too stuck in the moment. They're frustrated, this and that. But you really have to take a step back and look and be like, what does this mean to me? Who is this helping? Why did I do this? How far have I come? How close am I? That's one thing people don't think of is like if you think about how close you are to your goal, you're going to be a little uplifted because you realize you've actually done some stuff. You know, but people don't think about that. We're hardwired to be negative as humans. We think about the negative first. It's a fact. I'm sorry. Where it's a stress response. It's a evolution. If we think more negatively as animals, we're more likely to survive. Downside is now we're in a situation where we don't do we live very different lives now. And,
you don't really know how close you are. There's this like my favorite Pearl Jam song is called "Life Wasted." And it's like, why swim the channel just to get this far? We're halfway there. Why would you turn around? And it's like, it says, darkness comes in waves. Why invite them to stay? We're warm with negativity. Yes, comfort is an energy, but why let the sad song play? And I love that line, you know, like we're halfway there. Like, why swim the channel just to get this far? We're halfway there. Why would you turn around? Like, keep going forward. Yeah. It's such an inspirational song, you know, or like, I like that line too, darkness comes in waves. So like every time you're on a path, like it's going to get dark at times, but he says, why invite them to stay? So like, if you have those negative thoughts in your head, like you're never going to make it, you're a failure. Why are you going? Why do you keep going? Why? Don't listen to that voice. It's going to go away. Don't invite it to stay. You know, let it fucking...
That voice is not you.
It's going to pop up, and it's not you. I think that's really important. I've heard a lot of people saying that. Like, remember, that voice is not who you are.
It's not. I think
it's just a voice. It's just a program.
That's that stress response. That's the ego. That's the human body.
That's the actual
trying
ego.
To protect you. The way that I like to describe it is everything. Like I don't like soul and body. I think of like soul and ego. It's just the way I like to call it, because I think of every like mortal pleasure as it's an extension of the seven sins, which are manifestations of ego. Everything that someone has an ego is wrath, you know, gluttony, pride. It's all kind of that. So that's exactly, and it's like it's a breakdown, you know. So those are all manifestations of the ego that people use discipline to overcome. So like every single thing that you use discipline is to overcome one of the seven manifestations of the ego, which is the human. That's not us. That's the thing that got us through life as humans. But like your soul, your thoughts, the positive stuff, that's you. So,
right. So like it's kind of like that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like that's the top of that is like you're free of the ego and you've self-actualized.
And we're in a society now where the bottom of that pyramid is covered. We don't have to survive. Like we don't have to worry about survival. If you have a broken legs, you're mentally challenged, you're not going to die anymore. Like the survival of the fittest isn't a thing anymore. So now we're at that top, and we don't know what the fuck to do with ourselves.
Right.
And you know that's where the problem comes into life. So that's why I like to call it the ego. I forget what we were talking about that.
No, I think you're right. The ego is like the thing that's like, man, I really, really want to do this thing, but it's like, what if they make fun of me? What if I fuck up? Oh, I'll just not do it to stay safe. So that's your ego. Like, well, you know, I'm really good at it, but I'm not gonna fucking. Or like you telling yourself so and so is really bad, not as good as you, because like you clearly know they're really good, but you're threatened by it. So you'll start saying shit, talking shit about them, like, yeah, well he's good, but he does this.
And that's a self-defense mechanism of the ego, because if they look worse, then you don't feel as bad.
Right? Or you know
pride.
You know they look good, so you'll try to like. Well, yeah, but I heard that he does this. He treats women like shit, or that, like, you know, if they obviously really do, that's bad. But I'm saying, like, maybe you make something up to like,
for the sake of
discharacter them or something because you feel insecure, or like, or he cheats. I heard he does this. It's like, does he really do that, or you just want something to make him look bad because you feel that he looks better than you?
All vindictive behavior and negative behavior, I think, it's an ego manifestation.
That's ego.
Because we're talking about that with like your negative thoughts about you aren't you. Because your soul, the soul is good. Everybody's soul is good, even if you're an evil person.
I believe that.
The ego just took over. You know, they had, like, you know, people do terrible crimes, but I think at heart all souls are good, and your good thoughts
start that way possibly.
Yeah, and then like there is the nature versus nurture thing, because we do have chemical responses that are strengthened by our environment thing. So like this is real, but I think at heart even really really bad people have a soul that wants to do good. It just sometimes loses, unfortunately, and it's our choice to let our soul come out, and that's what. You know, it means like us doing things we like and things that make us happy. But that voice that says you're a piece of shit is not you. The voice that's you is the one that says I'm going to do great things. I'm powerful. I'm really smart.
That's the real you.
We don't listen to that one though. You know,
not enough.
We don't, and since we're not given value on that good thing, we're taught to value negative things.
We have a tendency, right, as humans towards the negative, because like, dude, when we put out we put out our Loudhead EP. That was my band. You know, we did this like test thing where we sent it out to like, I can't remember how many people, and it sent us back the stats, you know, and it got like 75%, you know, good approval rating and all this stuff. And like, so like of the people that listened to it, like 75% loved it. And like, it showed you like all the good comments. And there was, you know, I would say like 75% of the comments were good, right? But you know which one stuck out?
Of course.
Oh, that guy's voice sounds like a fucking screaming. I hate how he screams. Like, the lyrics are so dumb, or like, you know. And there was other ones that were like, wow, the lyrics were surprisingly intelligent. You know, like, but you didn't listen to that one. You're like, you know. And then this one dude like wrote out this. Well, they should be writing about like this, and it's like, bro, you need to start your own band if that's what you think. Because like, I don't know what you were just talking, but like, yeah, it's weird because like even me, like, I didn't really let the negative stuff affect me, but they stood out.
Yeah,
and all the good ones, I was like, well, of course, I'm great. This is great. But you also got to be careful, like, taking the good ones in, too, right? Like,
you can't let that inflate you too much.
You get too inflated.
That's pride, you know, which is pride is the original sin, according to, you know, religion, because a lot of them come from that. Because you have to have pride and think that you're valuable to have a lot of the other sins, you know. You have to be prideful to think that you're, you know, this food is more important than you pursuing your dreams. You know, like, you have to, you know, there's something, it's a long rant, but, you know, it makes sense, you know, as to why, you know.
It is weird how we do that as humans, though. And I think social media is big with that.
Social media is really big because, you know, you said we were negatively thinking people as humans by default. Right. And then, you know, you think about what marketing is. It's evoking emotional responses. As animals, what is the most emotionally striking thing you can give to an animal? Sex or danger? What do you think the internet is? It's all like bad things, like this is dangerous, this is bad, this person did this, or it's sex. Because
and butts.
It's sex. Because as an animal, like if you think of a dog, what are the two things that are most important to it? It's going to die or it's going to get laid.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean,
it's just...
Well, that's even like that scientist that was talking about like the case against reality. Like, he was basically like, we only have the capability to perceive what is necessary for us to survive and reproduce.
Yeah.
So those are you just said those two things, danger and sex. So surviving and reproducing.
Those are the two most emotionally sparking things. So that's why it's so bad, because the people that market things want to evoke responses.
Tap into that,
The biggest thing, give them boobs or give them, you know,
right. So
like
many
racy
things
titles,
are like, this is going to make you more attractive to the opposite sex.
Yeah.
And that's, you can sell that.
It's a direct manipulation of an animal's like evolutionary responses.
Their needs.
You know? It's literally, that's what marketing is.
It's like, you have a problem and I'm going to solve the problem for you. I mean, that's what marketing is at its truest form, right?
It is, and it's tough because at the beginning of things, back when marketing started, even 100 whatever years ago, it's good intentions, but
right, because it could be healthy. Like, what do you do? Like, okay, I am a coach, and I want to help you become a better version of yourself, which will in turn give you confidence. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll become a better version of yourself. You probably can attract a mate. That's a good intention.
Yeah.
But what we do is we take and we do like the snake oil thing. We start selling like,
blur the lines.
We make you think you need this thing to attract women or this to attract men, or like it becomes kind of like a little
it does
creepy.
And there's a lot of psychology behind commercials. There's people that make millions of dollars just strategizing on where certain things are in the pictures and like what colors the girl's wearing, you know, that has scientific backgrounds to just make you feel a certain way. And like subliminal messaging, priming, commercials do this too, where they'll flash images or something like that, or make a scene and go on. It's so, you know, but
right. There was I was listening to this. It was another Huberman podcast about how humans select and keep mates and all this stuff, and like the science on like even like they will take a man and show the picture to a woman and have them rate him on perceived attractiveness. Then they'll take the same man, put him in front of a sports car surrounded by hot women, by other hot women. And when women see him in the picture with the car and the hot women, his perceived attractiveness actually goes up.
There's science behind it.
It's science. It's a signaling. So it's kind of like when you feel like you're dating a girl and then all of a sudden way more girls want you. It's because you've already been pre-screened and selected. So like that signals to other women like, oh, he's okay, he's good.
Yeah, if you think of an animal, if you're a woman looking for the top mate, and there's a man with a lot of women, he must be desirable. So,
yeah, it's all right. Yeah,
but people think that we're so much better than these kind of primal. It's like you're not. We did not evolve much.
They call it pre-screening. So like women actually because they know one thing. Like if he's with the woman, he must not be too bad. Like he must not be like beating her up or anything. If she stayed with him, you know, it gives them all these subconscious signals. Like okay, like
someone picked him.
She's picked him, so he's pickable. You know, it's like, it's weird. It's there's so many.
I guess
but we are just like animals, dude.
We really are, but we all think that we're so much better, but we're really not. If you're somebody who like wakes up and you just work and you just kind of have some fun and you just have sex with your girlfriend, then what are you doing differently than an animal that wakes up and eats? And like, if you're just living paycheck to paycheck, just living your 9 to 5, you're doing no more than a dog is. It's just a higher scale.
You're not taking any kind of. You're not planning anything. You're just kind of going with the flow.
You're not doing anything other than what an animal needs to do to survive.
Right.
Which, like, what's the point of having consciousness then? Like, what?
Right,
what
and I think that's the hierarchy of needs thing. Those people never get up to like the top of that because they never self-actualize.
Yeah.
And that's fine if that's all they want to do.
If they're happy, then that's fine. That's my disclaimer. If you want to live a life, if you're happy, that's fine. I'm not gonna. It's not.
Do you tend to think most of them probably aren't happy doing that?
I think most people aren't because I think that most people have dreams and aspirations that were given to them with the purpose of fulfilling them. So if somebody tells me they have this job but they had a dream to do this, well, I think that you let yourself short, and I think that you would be happier doing the alternative. And I don't think that anybody could be happy without like trying to push themselves to reach something that they want. I think that's core to the human experience as a soul is to come here and experience something that you wanted to experience, that you pre-chose.
That might be what this whole thing is for.
I think that's what it is. I think that our souls are timeless and they choose to where they're going to be born, what bodies they're going to come in with knowledge of what's going to happen, and they pick it. Like your soul picked your body because what you're going to do is great and important and it's supposed to do this. And everybody out there is your soul picked your body because you have great things to do and you're destined to do them. Your brain, your soul already knew you did it. It's already happened. Time isn't real. You just have to make the choices to make it happen, and then when you're gone, your soul's going to say, good fucking job. Let's go do another.
We'll do it again. I love that because, I don't know. I think there is something. I do feel like this is some experience that our souls like. When I think about life, I think it's like something fun that our spirits like to do.
I think so.
And I know I shouldn't say fun because I know for like a lot of people, life isn't fun and like tragedies happen and terrible things happen. But if you think about life in that way, then it's like, well, that if somebody passed away, that soul just went on and it's okay. Like, I mean, it's sad, but
they're just not in the state.
I feel like it's a playground for souls. Like,
I think
like the life experience, I feel like, cause I feel lucky. Like it's something that we get to do. Like I feel thankful that we get to have this experience.
Yeah. You can do anything you want with it.
That's how I look at life. Like, like just really thankful and like,
that's fucking awesome.
I don't know. That's how I.
I love that. Yeah, It's very makes me happy to hear.
Like
that.
it's
I love
like
when people say that kind of stuff.
Well, imagine if you didn't get to have it. Like, would you like? Obviously, you don't want it taken away. Like, I don't know. I mean, some people do, and that's sad. But
I think the people that do, it's just because that ego, the bad things have happened to them, and things got in the way. And like some people do just live, unfortunately, bad lives.
Well, and then I think sometimes
that's
it's like
terrible, but
right.
But that brings us back to like objectively bad, relativity. Good and bad is kind of a construct based on our perception as a human. To a soul, you even dying and having a terrible life might be like their consciousness, like your soul's above. Like this is nothing to them. Like these are trivial.
It's
problems.
like, oh shit, I went in the game, I made a wrong mistake. Now I'm back out of it. I'll go back
to them,
in.
Like even human pain is probably so like peasant to them. Like they are so far beyond. Like, oh, human pain. I'm sorry you got murdered. It's we still like live the experience. It's more to it than that. But
right. I mean, that'd be cool if that's all it was. Like, well, I'll just go try again.
Because good and bad experience is only relative to us as humans. Us going through whatever trauma is only bad to us. Because
it's like you said. Like if you're the lion and you make a kill, it's like great because it's like. We have food today. I've done my job as a lion. I've killed this food. Now I can feed my cubs. I can feed the, whatever. But if you're the deer,
that's bad.
It ain't good.
And it's bad. So just it's all made up. It's just a construct.
It's all relative.
It's all relative.
It's like if you're like the thief and you just stole $1 million. For you, that's good.
Yeah.
If you're the guy that got the $1 million stolen, not so good.
Yeah. If you stole $1 million to feed your starving children, is it good?
Who's to say which one's good?
Yeah. And so the fact that there's a debate means that
if you stole it for hookers and prostitutes, that's different.
Then give me a call and hang out.
Then let's party. Let's go down the bad road one more time. We're preaching like discipline and getting better, but you got $1 million and some. Okay, let's have a weekend, then we'll get back on.
I'm only preaching discipline because I'm not rich enough to indulge my sins. Give me some money.
Hey, just a couple days. We're not going to go crazy.
Oh, that's funny.
We can get back on track right after that.
Till we win the lottery, we preach discipline, and now we're the ultimate.
Well, I think that's the danger with success for some people. Why they burn out when they get super successful, like especially like rock stars and stuff, where it happens really fast.
Yeah.
Imagine say like you got super successful now and like came into like a lot of money because you've already done all this work to make yourself. You'd probably do okay. because you've actually, you put enough time in your life to get like disciplined and understand these things.
Yeah.
If it happened to us when we were like 22,
Even 2 years ago, I'm dead.
oh, we're fucked.
I'd be dead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's bad.
Like,
And
I
that's
would have
bad.
drank myself and partied into a coma for sure if I was rich enough.
Right.
I was only rich enough to afford to drink at the pub, and even that was
bad.
and drinking bottom shelf liquor. But
Eesh.
but
No,
yeah.
I know. That's like the thing as you get older, you get better at like knowing how to handle some of those things, or at least you hope you do.
And with people getting successful and giving up and getting burnt out, it comes down to two of what you're in it for. If you were in it just to get successful and make money
Without any substance.
yeah, like, is it bigger than you? Like, is your dream bigger than that? Like, if you hit the NBA and you make your first contract and then you quit after that, well, that's just because you didn't have goals that were big enough. Like, you were happy with what you
Right, because most people that make money in those things, they're just actually super passionate about it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys who make a lot of money in wrestling, they just love wrestling.
Yeah, you got to love the game or else you'll make enough, you'll quit.
At the same point, I don't knock guys when they start treating it like a business, because like you got to make money too. But I think a lot of them just genuinely have the love, Like, I don't know.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with treating something like a business, because there could be other things in their life. Like, maybe this is a business because they make money but he has passions elsewhere,
Right.
Like, it's relative.
I was listening to
relative.
a podcast where Kevin Nash was talking about when he was the heavyweight champion. And it's like, yeah, it meant something to me, but he's like, it's always been kind of a business. And he said it was weird because, like, his friend, who was Shawn Michaels, he's like, it's a business, so I didn't hold it against him when I knew every day he was lobbying for himself to become the champion. Even though I had the chance, he's like, I didn't hold that against my friend. And he's like, also, because I treat it like a business, he's like, I knew that for him, it meant so much more than it did for me, like becoming the champion. So, because he had this more love of wrestling where like, so he even knew like, he could tell the difference between how he viewed it versus, like, to Shawn, becoming the heavyweight champion meant so much to him. And it wasn't just about business. It was like, it was meaningful to him, which to me, I have a feeling it was probably because he was a guy that came up in like the Hulk Hogan era where it was these larger than life dudes. Kevin Nash was a really big dude. So it's like, of course, why wouldn't you have him be the champion? For Shawn to win the championship was huge because smaller guy, more athletic, guys like him didn't traditionally ever get to win it. So it meant more to him. You know what I'm saying? To prove that, okay, I can win this. Because I feel like it's hard when you're like somebody that's way more talented than other people, but because of their size, something you have no control over, they get opportunities you don't.
Yeah, that's gotta
so
be
you can see where that might mean a lot to him. Because he's outworking them. In the ring, outworking them, outperforming them. But because I'm smaller, I can't ever get that, So I think that's what put that chip on his shoulder, honestly, that made him kind of a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
helps.
it's like, it's all kind of relative. It's weird.
Yeah, having that chip it's helpful fuel. You need to get some motivation. It's short burning fuel.
It's kind of good to have or hold on to a little bit of it, even when you get healthier and you get older. I suggest just hanging on to a little bit.
You need it here and there. I use it every month or so. I'll have a session where I don't want to lift, and I'm just like, I'll think about something that'll make me a little pissed off.
Well, it's kind of like you said before, like you remember where you came from or what's your reason. Sometimes it's just because somebody once in your life told you like you're not good enough or you're not this. And if you get to a point where you're getting better and better at things, but maybe you need to remember that time and be like, oh, I still have to prove these fucking people wrong.
You do.
It's kind of good to hang on to a little.
You hope to get it to the point where you don't care about their opinion anymore. That's the ultimate.
That's ultimate freedom.
enlightenment,
Yeah, that's ultimate freedom. I sadly still have that little thing sometimes where I just want to be like, I want to show these motherfuckers.
I still hold on to that for the little fuel, like you're like a few reps you're trying to get.
Yeah,
like,
so
fuck that guy.
You get mostly beyond it, but yeah, I think it's good to keep a little bit of it in the tank.
You have to get beyond that in the long run. You see a lot of people burn out that way too. They get into a sport just out of an emotional passion, and then it's like a fire. If you throw gasoline on it, it'll burn really quick, really hard. You might get really good, but you need wood. It's
not going to last.
And that's where motivation and discipline comes in. Like motivation and just temporary, is not enough. You need a long burning, sustaining fuel, which is why you did it, who you're doing, something bigger than you. That's your long burning fuel.
I agree with that.
That stuff gets you through because anger and stress responses like that, like thinking about something that gets you angry, you eventually get your response gets dumbed down. You become accustomed to it,
And it's also kind of corruptive to yourself.
thinking like
Corruptive to your own soul.
That's the best. You're spot on. Yeah, you're right. That's the biggest thing. 'Cause thinking about negative things makes you negative. If you let yourself think about things that make you angry just because it helps you lift weights more,
Right.
you're spending time thinking negative. Like you're more likely to be angry now. Like this is just how this works. And if you go to the gym and you're lifting, you're angry for 2 hours. That's 2 hours a day. You could be a professional martial artist at 2 hours a day, but you're spending it being angry while you lift weights, and you wonder why you have emotional problems.
Right.
You know, and that's coming from someone from experience. Is the first like 7-8 meets I've done, I was literally the guy in the corner smacking his head against the fucking walls, getting real pissed because it helped me get motivated to do something that I didn't want to do because I was not disciplined, and to go through with it, I had to get fucking fired up.
So has that changed now for you? Your procedure?
It's changed now because, well, one, I went to behavioral therapy and started taking psychedelics, so I'm not really as angry anymore.
Yeah, those psychedelics really.
That was a hard 2 years where I've started to get sober, and I've realized,
Dude, those are so like they change stuff for you.
It's been great. I'm definitely way better, but when I started being less angry after therapy, I didn't have that feel anymore. And like, there's some sessions where I'm just like, I don't know why. I kind of had a crisis of like, am I going to quit the sport? Like, do I actually?
But
want
you
to
found
do
a
this?
healthier.
I had to think about what we talked about. Is I had to sit back and be like, wait, what is this actually bringing to my life other than just a personal venting? I'm like, well, I'm doing well in my business because I'm strong enough to get clients to believe in me. I'm not making great money now, but like I can be successful, and like this will help me pay for my dad's bills. Like this will get my brother the surgery he wants, and things like that, because these are the things I look at.
Just the idea that you're taking care of other people too is huge.
That's the biggest thing. You need something bigger than yourself, and you need those long burning fuels, and it can't just be out of anger,
Right.
And inspiration can come from like, I'm doing this because I'm driving towards helping somebody else.
Yeah.
The best feeling that you'll ever have as a human is helping somebody else.
I know.
There's literally nothing else more fulfilling.
No.
And if you argue with me on that, then I'm sorry. I don't know.
You notice that when you're a kid, when you're a kid and you love getting presents, and then as you get older, you actually get more joy out of giving the presents. I've noticed. It's kind of weird how that changes.
I think it's great.
It's pretty cool. It's like. I mean, even like I have all those toys over there for my nephews, and I'm just like, just the idea of like, I was so bummed at Christmas because I so wanted to go watch them open those. Like we couldn't obviously because of the weather, but whatever. At least everybody's safe and nobody traveled that shouldn't have traveled.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bummer because it's like, I don't know, man. Like kids are like, I think what Christmas is about. So it's like,
it's a kid's game.
Yeah, I wanted to see them open this up, but it's fine. What do you do?
That means you get to open it.
That means I'm gonna play with those Legos.
Yeah, have some fun.
I'm ready to build those. Yeah, they're never getting the toys. I'm just gonna open them all now.
Oh, the Star Wars. I used to play Legos a lot as a kid.
And also they're Star Wars Legos. Dude.
The Star Wars ones are expensive.
So it's like they're dope.
Ones.
Yeah.
I used to work at Toys R Us. Was my first job, and
I feel like that'd be a pretty cool job.
Do
those exist anymore?
They shut down. 2015 or so. I went out of business.
Man, when we were kids, we loved going there, dude.
Oh yeah,
like it was there, like the mecca of toys.
It is. They had all the specialty stuff.
They had like stuff. Yeah, you couldn't find stuff anywhere else but there.
And they always had the cool Lego displays. Like they would have the big Death Star or something like that. That'd be really cool.
That was though.
And then when I worked there, sometimes we had to throw those out, and that was fun. Just throw in the dumpster.
Like a whole Lego set.
The display ones, they're glued together, so you kind of just got to throw the whole thing away.
Right.
You just break it up. So you just throw the thing in there and like.
That was probably kind of a fun stress reliever, dude. Just chuck the fucking. Like those break rooms, or like smash it.
That's what you did. You throw stuff away working in a warehouse. I worked for Coca-Cola too, and we'd have to throw away the expired stuff and like the glass bottles you had to break. So we would take turns just bombing them in the dumpster.
It's like that fucking. Okay, Office Space. Are you too young for that? Yeah. Okay, shit. Damn it. Damn, I am old.
Not The Office. Yeah.
No, like Office Space was this movie where they like break the copier or whatever, and like some old school rap comes on, and they just all like circle around it, like we're gonna get this little bitch, and they like fucking start smashing it. It's dope.
The copier was slipping.
But yeah, it's kind of like I feel like throwing those glass bottles of Coca-Cola was probably very like therapeutic in a way,
But then that brings us back to if you spend some time throwing things angrily, then you're more likely you're just feeding that machine, baby. You can't indulge to that, wrath. That's ego.
I always feel like there's the best value for me is like realizing that it's like it's not about proving yourself and then getting to a certain point. And I always feel like there's this myth that we have of like you work really hard and then you reach some plateau and then life is rainbows and fairy tales and you're just happily ever after. And I found much more value in understanding life as like it's a never ending battle that does not end until the day you die. So like no matter how hard you work, you still have to get up and work hard. Like so it goes to your discipline and stuff. Like because a lot of people I think they view fitness like that. Like I'll work really hard and then I'll just be in shape and from there on out I'll be perfect. My life will be amazing. It's like no, you have to earn that. You have to earn that shape for the rest of your life if you want to keep it.
That's one thing I love about fitness is it's earned.
You have to earn it every day.
You can buy steroids, but you can't buy, the results from it. Like you can't just get big and strong.
There is no magic pill.
It doesn't work. Like I wish steroids were as effective as
people think they are.
I've had so many. I don't get it so much anymore because now that I'm stronger, people don't talk shit. But when I was weaker and taking steroids, I'd get comments. Once at work, somebody I heard him say, asked me about if I was taking performance enhancers. I said yeah, and they said, oh, I thought about it, but I actually wanted to work hard for my results. And like this dude legitimately said this to me, and like.
Was he even in shape?
No, I mean, but I was also kind of skinny at the time, and I was strong, but I was a lightweight competitor, so like I think I was squatting like 500 and 160s, but I was 160 pounds. I was skinny, so I got a lot of people would talk shit.
Well, your transformation's actually crazier than I think everybody knows you as this guy. I don't think a lot of people know you before.
I wish people would know.
Like where you've came from.
I think it makes my journey a little more impressive, I guess.
Right. Well, people just see this big, strong dude. They don't understand where you came from.
It's been a journey, man. 135 pounds as a senior.
Dude,
came back from that. Yeah, it was tough. And I was very depressed in school and growing up, so it was hard for me to get that going. But, I fed on that quick anger fuel for a couple of years, and that got me far enough to where I could keep going.
I think you're right, though. It's not the way to go.
It's not the way to go, and it's like you said, it's so toxic for your brain to let
because it's like what? Remember like the Yoda thing, like hate leads to something, anger leads to like
I don't remember the exact one, but that's 100% true. It'll just evolve into something else, and the more you let yourself think about negative things, the more you're just thinking about negative things. You're a negative person now.
The more you kind of do it from love, as cheesy as it sounds, like everything you do, I feel like life gets better.
Yeah.
Obviously, like at some point, you can't just be kind to everybody or be a pushover. But I think if you're like leading with that, like a positive intention or like love or genuinely wanting everybody around you to like do the best that they possibly can and be the best that they can.
It's the most powerful human emotion we're capable of.
That could just be. It could be the drugs talking. No, I don't know.
It could be honestly part of it.
Yeah.
But if you think of it like we're picking this human experience,
it's beautiful.
Love is what I think our souls. One of the things they look for. Your soul's going like, oh, Earth, we're going to come here. I would love to experience love. This concept could be foreign in other worlds.
It's a higher vibration.
It's definitely something. It's something we can't describe, honestly, and it makes people do things that are. One of the reasons why I think it's a powerful emotion is people with love override all of the other stress responses and senses. People will starve for love. People will put themselves through pain for love.
That could be the negative part of it.
That feeling, it's a complete bypass of the body, the ego. I think it's a very powerful emotion for that.
Yeah, they'll cross mountains just for it.
People do a lot more for love than they will for hate. Like love is a lot stronger of a fuel. It's just kind of a little harder to find.
Stuff's like all different vibrations. But I do think like anger is a healthier vibration than like others. Like at least it could be used healthy. Yeah, you have to get rid of it. You can't hold on to it.
We have anger for a reason. It's a good thing. Things that are bad for you are supposed to, invoke a response.
It's got a purpose, I think.
It's got its purpose. It's not as prevalent in modern society now because anger, as an animal, if something irritable happens, it's probably a danger, and you need to be.
You see two animals like fucking tense up around each other.
The problem is that's not so relevant now. There's a lot of things that like road rage. Like it's something that probably shouldn't make us as angry as it does, but we just weren't designed to live like this.
We're still designed the old school way of.
And so it has its purpose, and like if you're at work and a guy's trying to steal your job and he's being an ass, makes you angry. That's good. Like it's going to make you.
It'll make you fight more for your job.
More for your job. So like there's no good or bad emotions really. It's all like I said, it's no good or bad. It's all perspective. And
wasn't that like a Pixar movie or some shit with all the different emotions like as a character?
Might have been.
Yeah.
There was a Pixar movie I saw called Soul, which is actually another really good one because they have people with the soul babies and stuff like that. You should check it out.
Dude, that sounds like way too deep for some of those Pixar movies are so deep.
They're getting there.
Holy shit.
Those people, they're really bringing it in for the kids.
Right. I mean, it's good.
They know the adults are watching, so they need some psychedelic thrillers.
Yeah, I always love stuff that's like adults can enjoy it and kids can enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Like, honestly, I don't know if you said you have HBO Max. Like,
yeah.
And I know that you like to smoke, so I was just going to say, if you ever go back and watch the OG Looney Tunes while you're high, dude.
Oh yeah, so many innuendos thrown in those old movies.
It's insane,
Yeah.
bro. Like how the fuck Bugs Bunny just be fucking with people all the time and shit.
Yeah.
It's like he's so cheeky. It's like it's just like how this was from the 40s and they were this funny. Like because you viewed like the 30s and 40s, like people must have been so like so old, but like you watch it, you're like, oh my god, they were fucking hilarious.
It was around
back
the war.
then.
They needed humor bad back then.
Very bad.
Like, they were
Depression, all that stuff,
Yeah,
dude.
you needed to be funny back then to get through it.
And I mean, it's like still funny to this day. It holds up pretty good. I was watching some of the OG Looney Tunes shit, and I'm like, oh my god, this stuff was hilarious. And like kids could watch it, and not even know what's going
Yeah, they
on.
have no
but,
clue.
like, yeah.
You just see colors.
Right.
Pretty.
Adults are like, damn, did he really just say what I think he said?
Just
Like,
beat that guy with a hammer. Like
also,
it's
Bugs
heavy.
Bunny is like the OG like cross dresser.
Is he?
Like he was dressing like a girl all the time, bro.
Was he?
Oh, all the time. He'd be like, he'd just get in like a hula skirt and start like dancing around, and he'd like trick the dude into thinking he was like a girl. He'd like bat his eyes at him
Living
and
his
shit.
best life.
Yeah, so it's like he was doing
Good
it
for you,
before it
Bugs.
was even cool. Like he's the OG, dude.
He would do very well in Seattle.
Oh fuck yeah, dude. Bugs Bunny would be accepted for who
Very
he is.
accepted. Rightfully
Yeah.
so. Good for you, Bugs.
Good for Bugs.
Express
dude.
yourself fully.
Yeah, I feel like he would fit in good nowadays, dude.
He would.
He's a man of many.
On this channel, we fully support self-expression in all
I do.
capacities.
Create yourself. Be
Unless
whoever you want to
you're
be.
Imposing on other people's self-expression and rights, then I don't like that.
That's the same as me. I
that's
think
the
everybody
disclaimer.
should become whoever they want to be, unless they're like
Harming others.
harming others
Yeah,
directly.
That's my exception, you know.
Right.
You know, do whatever makes you happy as long as it doesn't.
Because I'm like that with like religion too. I'm like all pro like any kind of religious beliefs you have, just as long as they're not like we hate all this one person.
Yeah, I think that extremism is tough.
That's
I-
like where
and
it's not cool.
I don't even like when people in religions want to like compare themselves with others, because I'm like, aren't you all on the same team? We're all trying to like solve the same problem. Like
Yeah.
they just have a different. It's a different guy. It's a different.
Or it's like we want all women to be covered. Like that stuff freaks me out.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever.
I won't get too far. I don't want.
Well, you know, it's like they have to like wear all these like beekeeper costumes.
But that's all relative, you know.
It's their tradition, I guess.
It's normal to them. It might be unusual to us. And who's to say that not wearing full coverings isn't like maybe we're the odd ones, you know? But then again, we were animals who were fully nude, so maybe that's the
True.
curveball. to
Yeah.
this.
Well, and there's like women. There's women fighting against it. I
Yeah.
feel like it'll eventually work itself out, hopefully. But
If the women don't like it, then I don't like it. But if
That's kinda where I
you know,
am.
If they're part of it and they like to wear the wardrobe, then more power to them. But if they're being treated badly and they don't like it, then get it
right,
off.
if it's your choice,
Yeah.
then do what you want.
Absolutely. You know, but I think all religions are on the, you're all trying to figure out the same problems. You're all on the same
Right.
team. You're all trying to give each other like purpose and a greater purpose to, you know.
Oh, I'm much more open to it now than when I was younger. Like I've met so many cool people that are religious, you know, like, and it definitely helps their life. Like,
I think it's a great thing. I'm personally not associated with any main religion.
No, me
I don't have
neither.
anything wrong with people doing.
I'm open to whatever beliefs, you know. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it helps a lot of people too in their life, you know.
I think so too. You know, if you think about you needing something greater than you to get motivation, there's nothing greater than that.
It's just a moral scaffolding, you know.
It is, and
Can be.
I don't think that all people need such a thing. I just choose not to be. That's a corny.
You
way to
could
say it.
also
Like,
just choose not to be an
yeah,
asshole.
like my religion is to just be a nice person and try to put other
Right.
people's.
I don't
needs.
need
I
like
don't-
something to tell me to do.
But
it.
if you if you believe these things completely, I don't mean to offend anybody. I just
Same,
choose
same,
to
same.
not. That's not my personal belief. But you could be very much right. I could be very wrong. I'm okay with that.
I always find that, dude, like the smartest people I think are the people when you ask them a question and they say, "I don't know."
Dude, as a lifting coach,
Yeah.
I've had many coaches. I've met many coaches. I've met bodybuilding coaches. Not a single motherfucker other than me ever says they don't know. Everyone bullshits their way through an answer. It's like, you mean to tell me you always know? If I've never heard you say you don't know, then you never tell people, like, you know?
Well, that to me is a sign of intelligence. There's a guy I know who I had sent him this podcast. It was a Huberman podcast about dreams, and he's like, because he fancies himself kind of this like, you know, scientist dude or whatever. And he said this line to me where I was like, he said, well, I don't want to listen to that because I know all about dreams, and I'm not going to listen to anybody else tell me about something. I'm like, I'm like, that to me is a sign you are a very unintelligent person who is scared of alternative beliefs, and you're not open to them, and you're only going to keep yourself in your own little bubble and not taking any new information. That to me is the biggest sign of weakness.
It's an ego self-defense.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be Mr. Science. You're like interested in science, even if you listen to it and it turns out it's wrong and you don't agree with it, but why not just listen to it and be open?
Yeah, it's about why you're in it and what reasons are you for? Are you in it because you like it? Because if you do like what you're in, you would be okay with being shown wrong.
Right. I mean, that's what science is, right? Like, it's supposed to be like, I believe this, but if you can show me something else that disproves it, I'm open to it.
Which a lot of science terminology is like there isn't like laws anymore. There's theories, and the idea is because a theory can be proven wrong later. Like it's based on our knowledge now.
Right.
So
imagine if we still lived by like the medical procedures from like when they were doing lobotomies and stuff. But it's like, well, that was science in the day. It's like,
it was. I mean, it's tough, but like you kind of had to cut some people open and try some things to see.
To figure some shit out.
It's tough. Like, I'm sorry, but like
you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs.
I'm not supporting very terrible like cruel science, but it's tough because this is actually something I thought about would be a great topic or movie idea. Is like stuff. There's limits that we put on our science based on what's morally correct and stuff like that. But say for example, we went back to the 50s and they made all of that illegal. What if science never advanced and we didn't? Like, there's a point where maybe our restrictions are stopping us from making advancements. We might need to survive.
Well, so there's horrific things that we don't like testing on animals, stuff like that. But what if the greater good actually comes from...
And that's the tough question.
Yeah, that's a moral quandary there.
One thing I thought of is like the movie ideas. What if, in society, in this movie, they say an asteroid's coming. It's going to hit us in like 60 years. 100%, like everybody's going to fucking die. And we have to leave the Earth by then. And like our technology's not close, so we have to like do some sketchy science. It's my idea.
Ooh.
Like what if they just loaded kids with psychedelics to try to like expand your kind? Like you could come up with all things. Like this would be a crazy movie idea. Like we just
so then kids realize figure out how to like transcend space and time and just travel across.
Like, what if you gave? I'm not going to do this. FDA, whatever. Yeah. What if you gave a newborn a bunch of mushrooms like they're the entire life and just see what happens? There's a lot of science behind the theory that human consciousness expanded from mushrooms that were eaten by gorillas, and like it's actually like
the Stone Ape theory or whatever.
It completely because if you eat something that alters your brain chemistry temporarily, but you do it regularly, it's not temporary anymore. Right. So like
I could totally buy into that.
So that would be a crazy movie. Be like, we got to save humanity, but like we're all gonna die unless we do some kind of
really shady
wrong stuff. That would be a great.
So where are we going? Mars? Like that?
Mars is our closest bet. Occupy Mars. My personal, I don't know if I have like a complex or something, but I think that I'm supposed to be part of a mission to get people off in some capacity. Maybe
I'm going to lose my mind if in like 20 years, dude, you're like one of the people that goes to Mars first, and I'll be like, I had that guy on my fucking podcast.
That's the dream.
Holy
even
shit.
If I'm just a voice to like bring awareness to the fact that like we need to leave this planet and
dude, you're going to Mars, bro. Don't even fuck.
I don't want to.
I can't even. It's like happening. We're living in the future right now, and I already know it's gonna happen.
If they said I could go on a flight to Mars and I might die, I'd 100% fucking go.
Dude, now I'm just.
You would experience something no human has ever.
Blast off! I'm on my way. I'm a shooting star. There's a song. There's a song about going to Mars on the new Megadeth album. I think I told you this like literally the last time you were here. Yeah. How I forgot how it goes, but it's like anyways.
Mm-hmm. I wish that would be pretty cool. I just
dope song though.
We got to get off the planet.
Goes to fucking Mars. Crashes. I think he dies at the end, and there's a super instrumental part, but it's like. I'm a man on a mission.
Maybe we'll see Dave Mustaine out there.
Man on a mission to Mars. Yeah, Dave's probably there already, dude.
Yeah, he's mentally out there already.
Dude, what if they clone Dave Mustaine and send him to Mars someday? That'd be dope.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
If I was on Mars, I would want heavy metal bands to listen to.
I would too, why not?
Like clone all of them. All the metal bands, send them to Mars.
It's going to be Mars metal.
Just like fucking Mars.
Music might sound completely different because gravity, sound waves. You might need different instruments.
Yeah, what if we have to like change everything about music to even play?
Might have to. Well, we probably have simulated gravity, which might just fix that problem.
Is that so? Isn't Mars like it? What, you'd be much heavier there?
I'm not sure. I think it's less gravity there.
Or is it less?
I think it's
because like the moon, you jump, it's like
I think it's less on Mars as well. So I'm not certain.
Because there's certain planets where like you're there, it would just compress you.
Yeah, there's some that you would just die before you. And like Jupiter itself, you wouldn't even come. You die.
Yeah, you'd just be dead.
Pressure's too high. It's because people don't think of the air that's around you has weight. Mm-hmm. And if there's just a lot of air, it pop you. It's kind of like being underwater. There's air pressure because the water's above you. It's the same thing with the air above you. It just has a lot less weight.
Dude, there was a fucking, the dude from Star Wars, Kylo Ren, the actor that plays him. There is a trailer for a new movie that he's in where like it's him on this spaceship. I feel like everybody dies, but like him and a little girl, like they're the only two that survive. and they're on this. So it's like he thinks he's on this other planet, and they're in the ship, so like they don't know if it's breathable air. They don't even know where they are. Eventually, they go out and explore, and they find out like, oh my god, the atmosphere is breathable. We're on this other planet. It's breathable, but then it's like it turns out like they're actually just on Earth, but 65 million years ago. And then at the end, it's like a fucking T-Rex. So it's like a new dinosaur movie. I'm pretty stoked.
They accidentally time traveled?
Yeah, they accidentally time traveled 65 million years
when
ago.
That happens?
Yeah, but now I get to see fucking Kylo Ren versus a T-Rex, bro. And like,
I accidentally time travel when I smoke weed every night.
And the T-Rex looks fucking dope. I'm like, damn.
I haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool because like it's like
cool.
kind of Jurassic Park is kind of like played out.
Mm-hmm.
They finally did Dominion, like, and none of them were really that great ever again. So it's like I need a new dinosaur movie. So this is it. This is the one, dude. With maybe Kylo Ren.
Maybe they'll bring them back, dinos, and we'll live it.
Oh, dude, that would be even more sick. If I had one wish, it would be to see what dinosaurs really looked like.
That would be pretty freaky to see a live dinosaur.
I mean, it's like it should be like world peace or something. My one wish, but it might be.
You know what I would want to see is like from a third person perspective, to watch like two planets hit each other from space. Like
that would be wild.
Like that would be.
But
sick.
like from a safe.
Yeah, from like a probably safe distance.
You have to have some kind of scientifically safe thing because like probably if two planets collided and you were anywhere nearby, like in a spaceship, you're fucked.
Yeah, you'd probably be pulled in by gravity on one of them, and you need some anti-gravity technology.
But if it was like something you could just view it from like a viewer.
Yeah, maybe we could get a probe.
Like some kind of magic viewer, you can view anything from anywhere, anytime.
Astral projection. And just think about it, and we'll be over there.
That's a trippy thing.
It's possible.
I kind of believe in it, in a sense.
There's a movie called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Have you ever seen that?
No.
And it's a scientist guy. He's a PhD in something, but now he has a group where he contacts aliens. And two movies, they're really well done. And his thing is they say they use consciousness to contact aliens.
I'm going to watch that. That sounds kind of cool.
His says that's how aliens travel. Because we talked about we can't travel faster than the speed of light. Any other alien that's coming to us is obviously coming from another galaxy because there's nothing in our galaxy, so they must be warp driving somehow. And he says consciousness. So, according to that, you could probably see anything you want as a human if you just tap into that part of your brain.
If we knew how to use consciousness to its fullest.
We only have so much percentage of our brain power, and I think that's something.
I know. I think someday we're going to realize, like, how limited we are in this existence.
We are.
When we're all kind of in a low hum here, too. Like, vibrationally. Living in this, capitalism and this, there's probably a lot more, but...
Yeah.
More to being a human. We just don't know it yet.
There is. But I always wonder, like, are we in that world? Is that our universe? Or are we just in the universe where everybody's brain goes to motion? We just feel it out,
Dude, tough. I don't know. I'm just going to keep lifting and podcasting.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Just keep fighting your fight.
Well, dude, before we go, let's talk about...
Let's do it.
I don't know, like your bodybuilding show, bro.
Let's talk about it.
I know you started saying a little bit. You just said you've been posing a lot, so like...
Yeah, I've been posing a lot, so I practiced the 8 mandatories. Kind of picked out a song or two that I would like to use for a routine, and I'm kind of just like...
Is it metal?
No, instrumental. I like orchestra music for this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, that's like classy as fuck.
And for the record, I don't only listen to metal. It's something that people don't know. But most of my time I spend listening to like classical, lo-fi. I listen to a lot of old emo, alternative. Like I listen to a few different things. People just think it's stereotyping, but it is what it is.
We all do it, dude.
We all do it. People say they don't, but if you say a guy looks like he listens to metal,
that's like Frankie said growing up. Like he, he's like, everyone thought I was supposed to like rap and stuff, and he's like, I liked Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, and like, he's like, but I'm not just some like regular white guy. So like, people stereotype everybody based on music. It's weird.
Yeah, they do. I mean, but it is what it is. I do listen to metal. Yes.
I do love metal too.
I listen to it, I guess, 40% of the time. And then I'll tell people like, oh, I don't only listen to metal. And they'll seem like they don't believe me. They're like, oh. And I'm like, okay.
Is it just because you played metal, or do you think it's just
because I played metal and I'm an aggressive dude? I've got I understand.
It's the fucking beard and the
I get it. I get it. I can be an angry dude. I get it. But like,
see, like for me, I just get you like this super intelligent dude.
Well, now, but you only know me now.
That's true. That's true.
The other 28 years.
I didn't know the angry version.
Yeah, I mean, I was never really, I don't think, mean, but I was definitely an irritable, angry person, and that's what you do when you're in fight or flight stress response. If you're down,
100%.
you're irritable. It's You know, if someone's in a bad mood, they're angry. It's that. You know.
So what class were you going to do with the bodybuilding?
Be in a 196 or 198 class and just bodybuilding. And go from there because that's the powerlifting class is 198. So it would put me in the ballpark after I do these 2 meets. There's one in May and one in July or June.
Dude, that's going to be so sick.
So I'll be around a reasonable weight, and then I would just like to try to fix some proportions before I do a show. I just need to get the biceps bigger.
Yep.
I've been hitting the poses, the 8 mandatory, and I think I look pretty decent in most of them, but definitely the thing is that the biceps are not there.
So that's the thing you got to bring
back
up
double
the most.
bi, I don't look too good because my lats are big, my glutes and legs are fucking huge. So it just doesn't look good when you got little biceps.
So you just got to bring the arms up to your legs level, basically.
Yeah, or just make them not. I don't need to make them that big. I just need to not be like obviously washed out. Like it needs to be good enough.
It's just the shape.
Yeah, luckily the shape's good. Like I've got good bicep genetics. It's just too small. It just needs to get bigger. I'm lucky that I think I have good muscular shape, mostly symmetrical. I just need to grow size in bodybuilding specific muscles, and we didn't need big biceps in powerlifting. We didn't need big calves, but luckily my calves have sprouted. Put an 1.5 inches on those this last year, so they're finally starting to come along.
Dude, that's crazy because calves are the hardest.
They're hardest, but the thing that I fixed was just doing ankle mobility and like making sure that I was walking right, and then they started growing.
Yeah.
And I think most people say that they are hard gainers on their calves, just have shitty ankles and shitty knees. And
Lately, I've been doing like the calf things and then like the reverse where you pull the tibialis thing at the body shop, dude.
Yes.
That is the coolest. Like I don't even know if it's doing anything like muscularly to grow me. It is, but for me, it's more like it really makes my ankles feel good.
It stretches it out.
Like they've just felt better lately.
Getting that flexion is very, very good for your ankles and your knees.
Oh, dude.
And plus, that muscle looks cool. I gotta.
Yeah, it starts growing after a while.
And it's calf from the front. You know?
It's so weird. Cool nobody ever thinks of that muscle.
People skip it. It's one of those ones they skip. Just like
Shout out to Body Shop for having that machine because it's pretty dope.
I think that was Dave's idea.
Oh, that would be Dave's. Dude, he will never come on the podcast, by the way.
No, he doesn't want to.
No, he never will. He's too scared of what he'll say. I'm like, bro, we need you. You're old school. We need you to tell us we're all a bunch of little fucks.
Come on. That.
But he's like, I think he's like, that's just not him. He ain't going to do it. Yeah. He's a cool guy, though.
I don't strike him as wanting to be on camera.
No, he does not want. He's scared of what he'll say or like.
Yeah.
And I get it because, I mean, even if you are a guy that like the wrong person listens to you on here talking and they don't like something you said, who knows? They might not want to do business with you.
And people can take things out of context.
I'm not worried about that. Like, whatever, But.
Yeah, I think if someone sees what you say and you're being authentically you and they don't want to do business with you, then fuck them.
Right. I think
why do you care?
They're not your people anyway.
There's plenty of people. There's plenty of business.
I'm on that page. They're not your people anyway. Then
Yeah, don't worry about what people think.
If you're truly being yourself, you're gonna have people that just dislike you, and you're gonna have people that love you. But at least they love you for who you are.
Even if you fake being someone else, there's still gonna be people that dislike you. You can be perfect and have people that dislike you.
Yeah, that's true.
So you might as well be yourself.
You might as well just be yourself.
You might as well be yourself. Unless you're an asshole, then don't.
Then stop being an asshole. Yeah.
But yeah, that's with the show. So I've just been posing and practicing, and we'll do it.
Yeah, that's gonna be so sick. I can't wait. And like, I already saw you your posing photos. So like, once you get lean, dude, you're gonna look crazy.
Thank you.
I think
I'm excited. I like the way that I'll look. I don't like to say I think I'll look good because I know there's going to be some. I guarantee there's someone watching right now saying, "Oh, he's an asshole. He thinks he's fuck you."
Yeah, but that doesn't mean like.
I'm just gonna say I'm happy with the way I look. I have not. This is the biggest I've ever been. I just took 2 years off from competing and just worked on gaining lean mass. So I've gained a lot of it, and I can finally see what's underneath.
Right.
And I'm hitting some of the poses, and of course, a lot of it's learning how to pose. But I've caught myself over the last few weeks looking at some pictures and being like, damn, like I look kind of like the dudes that I would see doing this. Like I look like the guy I want to look like.
Well, and that's a good thing. And I think,
exciting.
Being okay with how you look is a good thing in a sense, like, and I'm sure you're critical of yourself too, obviously, but we all are. So where are you getting your posing stuff from? Is there something you're watching on YouTube, or you just?
I've watched a couple of clips. C-Bomb does tips on how to do a vacuum and people how to do the poses. A lot of, and people are going to say that's not a great approach. Is I like to learn by doing things and trying it myself. It's always worked for me, and I'm bodybuilding and doing Muay-Thai because I like to learn. I like to have fun. You know? So I don't like when someone says, "Oh, let me teach you this so I can hold your hand and show you how I do it." Like I don't like that. Like I don't want to learn how you did it.
Well, also a lot of people who don't necessarily have the money to pay a coach to teach them, they learn they do their first show and they learn how to do it themselves by watching YouTube videos. Because not everybody can afford a coach, dude.
There's so much information. I mean, it does help to have the in-person stuff. stuff. But, you know,
I mean, I suggest getting a good coach if you can. That's
well,
the
I
way to
will.
go.
It's just right now I'm doing a lifting meet. I'm training Muay-Thai, school. I've got a business.
Yeah, you're
so
just
it's like,
busy.
I can't pay to have opposing coach. It's not
No.
important for me right now.
That's what I'm saying,
I'm getting
yeah.
plenty of practice by just watching myself. And, like, I'm a great learner. I know that I'm learning in an approach that's successful. I know how to master basics, set goals. I know how to do these things. So, because I know I talk to people, I've had people offer to help me pose, and I'm just like, I'm not interested in right now. And you can tell that they get a little like, oh, you think you don't need. It's not about that. Like,
It's not that.
It's not that. Like,
A lot of people like to learn on their own, dude.
I like to learn on my own. It's more fun. I think it gives you a better grasp on the basics because you fuck up more. It's like, yeah, I make mistakes, but I'll learn it better than you do because I had to learn the hard. Like, it's just my choice to learn the hard way. And I also think that, you know,
There's some things I like I was never a great guitar player, but I sounded like myself.
yeah,
Because I learned myself.
that's true.
I kind of like the fact that I didn't get lessons because it gave me my own style. So like when I used to play in my one band, it was kind of like that's like Nick style, you know, like I don't know. I feel like sometimes like learning stuff on your own can give you your own style. Obviously, lessons in anything, you know, like you said, putting in that time makes you better and better. But
Oh, I agree. And if you want to be a professional at something or get good
you
at
got to
something,
put the time in.
You got to put the time in. You need help from people that are doing it better than you. You know,
A good coach.
And I take tips. I ask people for help and stuff. But you know, I enjoy certain parts, just digging it out and learning it. And
I'm stoked about the Muay-Thai thing too, dude.
I'm very stoked, man. I practiced that and I posed before I came here. I got some ankle guards so I could practice more footwork without getting some ankle pain.
Hell yeah.
But I'm just doing basic footwork and some stretching so I can kick. And just working on the basics. I'm going to learn to be as defensive as I possibly can.
Yep.
Because I want to be a tactical fighter. I know that people look at me and probably think, oh, this guy wants to just hit people. I'm like, no. I like the chess match. I want to learn how to dodge. I'm going to poke with people. I'm going to play around. And
High stakes chess match.
And then I will kick you with my 28-inch legs, you know, and it's not going to feel good.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be exciting. Well, so then if we get the zombie apocalypse, we definitely want you on our team then.
Well, no, I probably want me with a weapon instead.
We want you with a weapon, with your kicks.
That's the gun
everything.
training.
But all right, man. Well, I think that's probably a good place to call this thing quits. That was awesome.
How long
We almost put in 3 hours, dude.
I think we could have kept going.
We're 256, bro. 256
for all the one followers. Mom, I love you.
Well, yeah, there's one person watching live, but dude, just wait. There's gonna be so many people
Yeah, people
watching.
watch the videos more, I think.
They watch afterwards.
Yeah.
We get at least usually 50.
I think mine was the leading for a while, and then what's her name, Barb, got like 100, I think.
Yeah, Barb
She
got up
me.
to 100 because
Yeah.
she's Barb Honchek, dude. She's the shit.
She took me down.
She took you down. Now you got to
the title. I
you
gotta
got to
do
go out and
100.
become a Muay Thai fighter, and then
Yeah,
come back on the podcast once you have a huge following.
Yeah.
and take down Barb.
That's true. I need to set some records.
He's coming for you, Barb.
I'm going to get more views than you, Barb.
Yeah, that's your next goal in life. All right, guys. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, guys.
And we will see you next time.
Later.
Peace out.